And hello, everybody. Welcome at World Vape Organization Vape Rendezvous, episode 5.
And
And here we
we
have.
have got a special guest, and that is Mr. Steve, the Legion Slayer.
Hey
The
everyone.
And
Legion
thank you
Slayer.
so much. Let me tell you this quickly. I told Vic that Vic, why don't we invite Legions? And Vic was like, I don't know. And I said, I don't know as well. What to do it. And I was totally apprehensive. But I still did wrote you a message in Instagram, and you did not saw it for like 2 days. And I told Big, no, I don't think it's happening. And then all of a sudden, I saw Legion's message. Yeah, what time you guys do the show? And I was like, oh shit. And then I told Big, have a word with
Yeah.
him and let's find out the times. By the way, because of that, Eric is right now doing this show and it's 4:30 a.m
5:30.
in 5:30 in the United
5:30.
States.
So not quite as bad.
My apologies, Eric. I've got you out of bed too early.
Hey man, I'm just glad you could make it. So
Yeah.
More than happy to be here. And my friend, I'm sorry that I didn't respond to your message. I did see it right away. Just a hectic, crazy week, and it was
Yeah.
like I wanted to take a little bit of time and answer you respectfully, and I was interested. But yeah, I just kind of needed to get through a few things, and when I did, boom, I was right there. I was more than happy to
No,
come
no,
on and hang out with you guys for a while.
absolutely. There,
It's,
we
it's funny
understand you.
how when Legion responded, Banglair quickly pushed it to me. like he.
Yeah, I told him immediately, Big. I think he's going to do it. You do the timing and things with him.
Yeah.
Because, like, let me tell you this. I feel like when I speak to a person for long enough, or when I'm watching a person for long enough, I get a kind of a vibe. So I get a very positive vibe from Legions, but at the same time, I feel like he is not someone who is like absolute open book. I may be wrong. This is my perspective. Like he's going to, if he wants to know you something about him, he's going to put it on a plate and serve it to you, and that is what you are going to get, nothing extra. And I might be wrong on that.
I would ask that you go back and watch some of the live streams. We have talked over the last year or so about butt plugs and sex dungeons. We've talked about youthful indiscretions with drugs. We've talked about. We at one time talked about the day I accidentally shat on my roommate. I thought I was gonna fart, but he got it in the face. I ran like crazy.
what could be done?
Seriously.
You know?
And I ran to the worst place. I ran and locked
Oh,
myself
boy.
in the bathroom. And then once I was in there, I realized
Uh,
this is the first place he's going to want to go. He's got to get clean, right? So I have nowhere to go. I have nowhere to get away from him. My point is you're right with the first take. I am pretty much an open book. I'm not ashamed of anything, and there's a lot of things I should be ashamed of, but I don't hide them. I don't hide who I am. I don't hide what I am or where I've been. So yeah,
See, Eileen
don't
got it
stress about
right.
that.
Eileen got it right. Eileen says, I think Bangalore Vape is in awe of Legions. Absolutely, Eileen. We all are.
Yeah, you're a fanboy. You're basically a fanboy.
Look, my friend, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I will admit, a little bit uncomfortable with it. I'm just a dude who accidentally shits on people every now and then. You should not be in awe of me, seriously. But I do appreciate it.
Hey man, we all start off doing that. It's okay.
Yeah,
Only
but
one people,
usually you've sorted that out by the time you're 21.
Well, no, that's just when you start doing it again for the second time around. So
oh shit. Just Josh. No, yeah, if he's teaching me something about camera and videos, I'm all up.
For the private room with Legion.
Yeah. And only one man I think who gets pissed off with Legions, and that man was doing e-cycle review. Now he is back to vape reviews again. So
Uh,
given that everyone is cool with him, all a fan. Right.
Look,
Uh,
I will admit, I've talked about it in the past. I've been pretentious. I've been closed off. I've been judgmental throughout my life. I've tried to be open and caring, but there's been periods in my life where I wasn't. But when I started this channel, or when I started my channel, what I was doing and who I was dealing with, I decided to be a lot more open, a lot more tolerant, and in dealing with people from all over the world, from all different levels, and really thinking about what I'm doing and what I'm saying and what that puts back, I've started to become a lot more thoughtful. Just
Yeah.
like, well, there are people who are here and there are people there, and that's fine. That's fine. These people, it's not one over the other. It's all good. And I sort of extend that to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Anyone see? I fight on my kids all the time. Never accidentally shed on them though.
It's
Yes.
coming.
Yes.
yes.
All right. So, Big, let's do a quick shout out to the people in chat, and then we'll start our normal proceedings.
Yes, sure. Banglair, take it away. What do you want me to do? It?
You do it because I have a problem with chats. Like,
Okay, I'll go to the top. We got John Below. Hi, John Below. We got Ezra's in the show. We got, hey, guess who's there? Vaping Big. We got Ant L. Shout out to Ant L. We got Labworks. We got King Rangasden. And let's see, we got Rifleman. But he's going to be the replay crew. We got Microwave Oven in the house. And we've got James R. And the most lovely Aileen Bell.
Yes.
Yes.
absolutely.
Hey, look who we got here. Legionnaire.
Yeah.
And there's something is hard to pronounce for me, but Daraya
Dheeraj.
A2.
He's from
Diraj,
India.
A2Z. Yeah. And bonjour, ZV fan from France. Comment estás? And we got Sylvia Daniel, also from your channel. And Just Josh is also watching from your channel. Let's see what else we got. Then we got Eddie1Z, and we got Big Andy from We Are Vaping, also a YouTube channel. Check it out. Don't know if I got Rifleman, and we got Kaiser Soze,
Hey.
and we got
Hudson.
Hudson. Good to see you, man.
Microwave oven, if only I could. Only I could.
Yeah, just Josh is saying, I'm back, bitches. He has got his name back.
Yeah. I'm actually missing 60 Watt guy. He promised me he would be there. But,
all right. So it's guys, it's not about us today. It's all about our special guest. For someone we look up to, whether he admits it or not, whether he likes it or not, but we do admire him for his work and things like that. So it's all about him. That is why he is on the thumbnail. He is everywhere. All right. So here we go, Legends. I have got questions for you. All right. So let's start with where did you grow up and how was your childhood?
Oh, big question. That is a big question with a very long and convoluted answer. The beginning of this long tale starts on the eastern coast of Canada, where my mother, who was Scottish born, and my father, who was Austrian born, somehow met and spawned me. And I bounced around that part of the country for about 5 years. Then I ended up in Scotland for 3 or 4 years. Then I ended up in the far, far western topmost corner, like a pubic hair away from Alaska, in the top part of Canada for a year or two. Then I ended up a year or so in Germany living with my uncle. Side note to that was technically a kidnapping by my father. Even though he wasn't there, he picked me up, put me on a plane, and said, "Go live with your uncle." And I'm not telling him why or where you or anything. When my mom finally found me, I ended up back in Scotland for a year or two. Then I end up in the lower part of the western side of Canada, so Vancouver area, for 4 years. Then I end up in Australia because my mother had married an Australian at that point. Because when your father kidnaps you, etc., that is not a good thing. Yeah, a lot of bouncing around, and then because by that point I'm technically legally an adult, mentally not, but physically still not, but technically legally on paper. And then I end up back in Canada for accidentally end up in Canada for 20 years, which was never meant to happen. I was meant to be here, but I went home for a family emergency, and visas ran out and couldn't return for quite a long time. That's the long version of the story. How was my childhood? Troubled. Let's say troubled. I was not a good kid. I was not a quiet kid. I
ADHD.
ADHD. I was a smart kid, but I was not an applied kid. And I had, of course, my mom, may she rest in peace, love her to death, but she was a single mom for most of that time. So working hard, and it is the 60s, 70s, etc. Not a lot of support. Not a lot of support for me, not a lot of guidance for me. So yeah, I got into trouble in so many ways that I shouldn't have. And there are buildings that burnt down because of me. Let's put it that way. Things you do when you're bored. But yeah, I managed to make it through in one piece and gradually learned to smooth off those rough edges.
Okay. So when you say that, we understand that you have a Scottish and Austrian blood running through your vein. That is scientifically.
Yeah.
Then you have been to different places like France and Germany and all those places in your childhood.
Mhm.
So, like all these things, plus you mostly you were in Canada, and all these things, all the culture from Canada, Austria, Germany, and all these things in your childhood, did that make any difference to a person what you are today? Any positive or negative?
I think it made a huge difference. On the negative side, being ADHD and being like I said, troubled child. I mean, obviously, I'm a little bit isolated. I'm not part of the in crowd. I'm not part of the cool kids in any way at school or anything like that. And being more broader educated, let's put it that way, more international experience, that just pushes you even further out. Kids, especially in the 70s and early 80s, are very cliquey. They're very what's local, and anything that's different is just weird, and so we'll make fun of you. And so pretty much everywhere I went, that added to that. So that's the negative side. The positive side starts a little later as I'm an adult, and I start to realize that I have a more, I guess, broad perspective. I can see things from multiple points of view. I can accept different ways of doing things. It doesn't bother me. I mean, my idea of going on a great holiday is not going to Disneyland or not taking the 9-day trip around Europe. I want to go to, say, Prague, and I want to live there for 3 years. And I want to get a little tiny shitty apartment in a back alley where the tourists don't go, and I want to go to the same shop every morning for bread, and maybe get a job while I'm there, just so that I feel part of it. I become part of it. And that to me would be a fantastic 3-year holiday. And then I go somewhere else and I would do the same thing, because I don't want to be a sightseer. I want to feel the depth of where I've been. And that's definitely something that carries on from my...
Feel the community, feel how life is there, being a part of it. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, like I said, I mean, I get annoyed. I see comments, bring this back to vape, but say we'll throw out Mark Todd. Mark Todd's a lovely guy. He's got a lovely channel. He's been working really hard at it, and then you see some guy from Idaho who's like, I would watch this, but no offense to people from Idaho, by the way, but some guy's leaving this comments like, I would watch this, but I can't understand a word he's saying. It's like, dude, you're not even trying. Like, it's a little bit of a Scottish accent. Deal with it. You know,
Todd is very understandable. You have to try listening to Vic.
Yeah,
for instance.
But even Vic, I mean, you just take your time and actually listen.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll miss a word or two. Maybe a phrase is out of your understanding, but you get the gist of what he's saying.
Yeah,
But you know,
absolutely.
I mean, that idea, like the idea of living and dying in the same town you were born in, and only ever eating food that your grandparents ate and their great grandparents ate, and only just that close, like this is the way we do it, and strangers are to be put to death. That sort of mentality just it makes my back tighten up. It's like, no, I want to go and touch the world. I want to experience it all. You know?
Okay. So when you plan to move to Australia, you've been in Canada and you've been a part of Canada. I mean, you can almost call Canada as your, like, that is your country, or do you think Australia is your country? Which one do you consider as your motherland?
Oh, see, that's complicated. I mean, there's the higher level, which is I am a citizen of the earth. I am a person of
Yeah.
this world. I owe no allegiance to government. I fundamentally do not understand patriotism. Because patriotism is allegiance to a concept. I like the land. I like the community. I like the physical terrain. But the government comes and goes. It'll be gone in 20 years. I have no allegiance to that. So I don't get that. I've never understood that side of things. I am a human on the planet. We'll move around
What a
like
beautiful answer.
like what we are. But
What a beautiful answer.
thank you.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is that, yeah, I mean, I feel very, very close to Canada. There's a lot of Canada in me.
Yeah.
Very, very Canadian values, very, very Canadian view of things, etc. And the landscape on the western side of the country is gorgeous. I miss it dearly, dearly miss it a lot. I feel at home in the woods there in a way. I feel scared in the woods here. We don't have woods here. We have bush, and it's full of snakes and spiders, and it's not the same sort of thing. So it's different.
Microwave oven as a question.
Yeah. I can't even answer, my friend. I'm not even paying attention to politics. It's been too long. I'm not even paying attention to the politics there.
Okay.
But
So, yeah, go ahead.
To finish that question is like, yeah, I mean, it is Canada and Australia. They're both equal to me.
All right.
With a little tiny bit of Scotland sitting in the back of my mind. Always there.
Yeah. So when you like this made this shift from Canada to Australia, definitely there has to be some basic differences between the lifestyle and other stuff. What problems did you face when you first came into Australia? Why Australia? Oh, you told me because of your mom.
Yeah.
But what did you find difficult when you started living in Australia? What was different than it was in Canada?
The first time I came to Canada, it was really weird because we lived in Scotland and it was the 70s. It was Thatcher's era. It was depression. It was mines are closing down. It was a very grim time for the UK. And I moved from there to Canada because my mom had met a Scottish man who lived in Australia. And so we were to go live with him. And they were going to get married. Going to get married. They weren't married yet. And we couldn't do that because I was a troubled youth and it was difficult to get through the immigration thing, right? So we had to go and live in Canada and visit my sister. She was pregnant at the time with her first child. So we went to Canada for 3 or 4 years while we sorted out our immigration stuff. So I went from the 70s era of depression which bleeds over into the beginning of the 80s, to Canada, West Coast, early 80s. So all of a sudden, it's from depression and gray, dark grimness and soot-covered buildings to bright, colorful, neon 80s. And everything is new and everything is disposable and things are plastic and things are bright. And it's just a very, very different change to go from there. So I'd gone through that in one way already before I went to Australia. And it was, like I said, it was from dark to capitalist, consumerist, early 80s lightness. West Coast, BC, yeah. Vancouver, just outside of Vancouver.
West Coast, BC, yeah.
And so, yeah, like I said, I think 82, 83. So if anyone's old enough to remember North America at that time, very, very different vibe, very, very different feel to anywhere in the UK. And then we were there for 3 or 4 years, and I went to school there, and I should have probably, finished school there, but I didn't. And we eventually come to Australia, and it was like stepping back into the 60s. It wasn't depressing or anything like the UK had been, but at that time, distance meant a lot more than it means now. No internet, no instant communication. Movies come out in America, they come out 2 years later in Australia. Albums get released, they're number one hits all over the world, and then we finally get them in Australia. And they stage things like this on purpose so that musicians could do all their touring over there, and then they could release the album and they could fly out and tour here. So we're always a couple years behind. I've gone from a place where cable TV is huge and cable TV is everything. It's the 80s. It's North America. We've got 50 channels. Nowadays, they have like hundreds. When I was last there, we had digital TV with like hundreds of channels. But we had 50 channels in my town in the 80s. And I came here and we have 3 channels and bunny ears. You've all seen American plugs, American sockets, which is the same thing we have in Canada. And I come here and all the plugs are huge and they're on a weird angle. And that's just weird. Canada has round doorknobs that are about doorknob height. Makes sense to me. And I came here and all the doorknobs are like up at your eye level. It was one of the first things I noticed. Like they're all that, that not a ball knob, but the actual
handle. The handle.
Yeah.
That's very common in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
But at eye height, it's maybe because everybody has a dog and the dog can open it or something.
I have no idea.
That's a great idea, though, Mick.
Yeah, it's the anti-dog handle, unless you have like a huge dog.
But yeah, it was just a very strange thing. Also, the other thing is that, see, Canada at that point, okay, so just like the rest of North America, we've gone through the 60s and 70s. In the 70s, consumerism blossoms, and we go from having local shopping centers and strip malls to having malls, giant buildings all over the country with everything inside and a food court in the center. And of course, it's the 80s. All the teenagers hang out in the malls. And I came here, we didn't have malls. We had the old shopping district in a town, and it's like long. And we had butchers. Butchers were virtually extinct in Canada. Like you had like 2 or 3, like you'd have an Italian butcher in the city, specialist. But the idea of a butcher and an actual baker, like we just went to Safeway. You go to Safeway, they've got everything there. They've got milk, they've got meat, they've got everything that you need, bread. But here we had like the specialist store, the fruit shop, and so it was like stepping back in time. It was very, very, very strange in that sense. The other part about it is that my stepfather, that we moved, so like we moved into his house right away. Of course, we moved here to be with him. He worked for the water board. He worked for the water board of Greater Sydney, and he was some sort of supervisor. And they have some sort of deal where they own property, and if you work for the company and you have seniority, you can rent houses that they own that are on waterboard property. So there's this tiny street. It's a tiny suburb on the edge of the city, and If you go left, you're into the shopping district, and then there's the houses. If you go right, there's an industrial estate, and then there is a sewage treatment plant. And squished right between, in that line between the two of them, is a little tiny cul-de-sac with 6 houses. And the very last house, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 is on the other side. And the backyard of that 6th house is into the sewage plant. So there's a giant pool of shit water. It's literally shit water that is seeping and soaking and doing its thing, and it's chemically treated, and then it moves to the next one. And I
Well, if
lived in
it's
that
chemically
house.
treated, then it's okay, right?
Yeah, it still stinks like shit though. And on a still day, it doesn't go any. On a windy day, the smell goes away. But on a still day, it just hovers. And our backyard was just right into that.
We have a special guest here. Come here, sit.
Oh, that's my sister-in-law. Is it?
Come.
Neem je het op school?
Hello, Sabina. Okay, so
Can I just say, Bick, your favorite, my favorite reviews that you do are the ones where you have a guest with you. They're always the best.
Where's the microphone?
Yeah, they hear you. Don't worry. It picks up everything.
Thank you. Hi, legend.
So that means Sabina, and this is also a compliment to Jan with where they do the flavor reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jan is awesome guy.
Yeah, I like to switch up the content, either go to another location or bringing in a guest. Then because otherwise it's always me in the studio, and it can tend to be a little bit boring. So yeah, you need to switch it up now and then.
I hear you on that, definitely.
Yeah. I need to stand out from the crowd, right?
Anything that you can do to make your channel unique and its own thing, whether it's like I've mentioned this before, there's a couple of channels that have come and gone that I missed, and they didn't always take off. But for me, in the early days, they were hugely inspiring. One of them, unfortunately, I've heard rumors that the reason it's gone is that the guy he murdered his wife, and then his channel disappeared. That's something I heard. I'm not sure if it's true, but he used to do. He was a silly guy, and he did silly reviews, and he took it seriously. But he would do a green screen, and so he put the RDA on the table, and he would be like a little guy pointing at this giant RDA, and he'd be pointing at all the bits. And I thought, I thought that was so cool. Nobody was doing stuff like that. That's kind of why I started doing like cinematic intros for a lot of my stuff. Not because that's what he did.
Yeah, and I started doing it looking at you, and Big told me, looks like you are copying Legends. I told him, definitely I'm influenced by him.
Hey, we all start copying. We all start copying, and then we find our own path, what works best for us, what really resonates with us, and you go with it. The other guy I really liked, and I always wanted to do it here, and just too damn lazy to actually do it. But he was a Vancouver guy, and he was around for a year or two before me, and I think he stopped like 3 or 4 months after I started, which made me sad. But he would review, and he didn't have space. He lived in the city. He had a small apartment building. Didn't have a studio space. So he had a camera, he had a microphone, he had a tripod, and he had the park. And so he would go out in the woods, middle of nowhere, and he would walk, and he would show a bit of the lake, and he would show the trees, and he would be talking to you. And he'd say, okay, now we're going to go down and take a look at it. And instead of being a table, it would just be like a towel on the ground, on the dirt. And he just turned his camera down, and he would show all the stuff on the ground. And then he'd flip it up, and he'd be walking through the park again. I thought, every video is like that. It's like you're tied to filming when it's sunny. You're tied to good weather, which is hard in Vancouver. But other than that, that's a fantastic way of doing things. It's so different. Like nobody's doing that.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, he's not boring. If he's bored, I make some action and.
You make drama, you mean?
No, it's action.
It's action.
If you need some move in his life, I can grab something.
She will create some tension. That's women for you.
Yeah, just ask for, and he's, no, everything is fine. I have more in my neck. Okay, guys, you can talk further. I
Hey,
have
where are you
to.
going?
Oh, to Monica.
Oh, to Monica.
I have to
Okay.
bring some stuff, so my house will
Mi-
be emptier.
Did she say Minecraft?
Goodbye.
No, Monica. She said.
Okay.
She hates
So-
computer games.
All right. So since we were
F4?
talking about Legion's childhood and all, so for that, I have got this one last question. Like, I don't know how to. Okay, let me ask you: who has had the largest impact in your house? It can be some of your family members, your mother, father, parents, or a specific person you saw on YouTube, a teacher, or anyone.
Wow. That is a huge question. Look, my mother has to be in there. I don't know if I can say the largest, but I mean I have to include my mother. Like I said, she had me. She had my sister 5 years before me. She was quite young. She was studying to be a nurse, and actually became a nurse. And then she had me, and shortly after she had me, the conditions for nurses weren't great, and she hurt her back, which pretty much ended her nursing career. So, going from that to being a single mom with two kids, one of which was a bit of a handful, was, that was a lot on our plate. She worked her ass off to keep us safe, to keep us fed, to keep us looked after. She's had hard days. She's had stresses. She's, like I said, just having me was undoubtedly painful in a lot of cases. But she never showed that. She never let that impact how we felt about her or show anything from her, like any aggressions or disappointments. She's nothing but love from her. So yeah,
Okay.
she's got to be there. Just such a caring person. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, there's so many influences, so many things in my life, like people that I admire, people that I've seen get through adversity or succeed despite all the odds, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of those examples. Yeah, I don't know really who to pick with that. I will point out my grandfather. My grandfather
Oh,
is it's another influence, but the other way around. My grandfather was an artist with a capital A. He if you go to the Caribbean, can't remember which city it is, blocked it out. There is a cathedral, and all the religious statues that are inside that were done by him. If you go to Scotland and go to where the Battle of Stirling is, there's a giant statue of William the Bruce, and he doesn't have his name on it, but he did all the work because that was when he was apprenticing. He was apprenticing for
okay.
a previously existing artist at that time, and so he did all the work, and that guy got all the credit. But it's there. He showed and stuff around the world. Never became huge, but managed to look after his family quite well. Managed to move. He moved frequently. Managed to holiday a lot. He was like always in and out, traveling around the world. So there's that side, and he's there's a very proper way of doing things in his world.
Okay.
And that was it. There's that way and nothing else. Like there's proper table manners. And I have, like I said, I have a stepson here, and I find myself cringing at his lack of table manners. And I have to remember that that's my grandfather. That's not me. It's not real, and I don't need to. He's never going to eat with Queen, so he doesn't need to know which fork does what, But my grandfather was very, very specific about this. The best way to explain my grandfather is two stories. One is that I guess this is just before I moved back to Canada, and I was like maybe 13, something like that. I had a rat's tail. I had short hair, and I had a rat's tail because it was 1981, 1982, and I just did that, and I wanted to do that, and it was only yay long. It hadn't gotten really long yet, but I had the rat's tail. and he would just look at me with disgust every time I went by. Every time it would cross his eye, it was just "Ugh." And I woke up. I was staying at his house, at my grandparents' house for the weekend, and I woke up because I heard "Snip." He cut it off while I was sleeping.
Oh no!
Oh
Which,
boy.
you know, in our modern day, you don't fuck with someone's body. But in the
Oh, boy.
80s, that was fine. So I had this little half moon shaped dint for a week or two. But I hated him for that. Just not because rat's tails were important or my hair, but just interfering with my body autonomy because you don't like it. I didn't even know those words, but that's what I was feeling. The other thing is that I was he was an artist. I wanted to learn how to draw. I wanted to be an artist. I showed him some stuff and like because he was at the house and he was just dismissive. He was not. There was no guidance. There was no support. There was no. Well, if you did this and this and this, that would look really cool here, or I can see where you're going. I was drawing somewhat abstract shapes that would like add up to an image, right? I wasn't doing lifelike sketches or anything. And he himself, his work ranges from the fully abstract to the highly representational. So it's not like that was out of his wheelhouse. But he was just so dismissive. And at that point, I just was like, I've had it with you. I'm done. Whole family holds you up on a pedestal, and you're just this nasty old shit, basically. So yeah, hold him up as an influence in my life to never be that.
Okay. So you said you spoke about your childhood, how you were not you were a difficult child to control. You spoke
Yeah.
about your hairstyle and all that. And now we see a completely different person who is calm, sound, and sober. So do you think time matures people or time like makes someone polite over the time? I mean, as the time goes by, which one? You get mature or you get polite?
Well, as I said before, my grandfather implemented that there were very proper ways to do things. So I know how to talk to the queen. I know how to eat next to the royal family. I know how to be polite and respectful. Doesn't mean I always am and always have been, but I know how to. So that's something I can always fall back on. I think there's only so many times you can make the same mistakes before you learn not to do it again. And maybe if you're a little ADHD, it takes you more times.
Yeah,
But,
for sure.
Eventually, you've made all the mistakes, and you're looking for new ones. So maybe that's where I'm at.
All right.
But
it also takes a lot of time to control your own ADHD. It's not a disease. It's actually an extra skill set that takes you longer to master than a usual skill set. So it's really hard to become calm because you need to learn how to control yourself.
Exactly. And when you live in a world that tells you that this is the way things work, we do this, then we do that, then we do that the next way. It's like, but my mind doesn't work like that. We sit down and we study now. It's like, and we do it in silence. Like,
no,
I cannot sit down and study for 4 hours in silence. I can't work that. Even here, like I'm studying film and photography stuff, and this is my space. And it's like I do some things, I do something else, I do some reading, I go make a coffee, I have a pee, I come back, do some more studying. I get 3 steps in. Go, okay, I've learned enough. I'll start doing it. Oh, it's not working. I come back. Oh, there's 3 more steps I didn't learn. Oh well, at least I've got practice of the first part now.
You need to practice. I remember studying for my truck driver's diploma, and I couldn't sit there with a book. No, what I did, I would take somebody's dog, I would walk the dog, take the book with me, and read a bit, and the dog brings the ball back, throw the ball again, read a little bit, walk a little bit, and then you stay active, but you also are learning, right? So you need to multitask some things, or
Yeah.
I do I do a little bit of this, and then after that I reward myself with something else, and then continue that again. Like you create a system that's never set in stone.
I think
So-
there's also another factor. I think, see, I was a very, very active toddler, as in sleep was not in my wheelhouse. So sleep does not happen in our house anymore. We're done with that. It drove my mom insane. So we went to the doctor, and he does some tests, and he's like, this kid's just off the charts. He's ADHD like you wouldn't believe. Let's give him some Ritalin. That'll work. Mom gives me. She comes home. She's a bit nervous. They're a little tiny. I remember they're beigey brown. They got some printing on them. Tiny little pills. She gives me one sip of juice, and I'm in bed. And 12 hours later, my mom's standing there going, "I've killed him. I've killed him. I've killed him. Oh, no, he's dead. He's not moving." And I'm like, "What's for breakfast? Let's go." Ritalin's worn off. And so I was on Ritalin for, I guess, 8 years. I was on Ritalin until I went to my dad. And the day I got there, I arrived because my mom and dad were split by that time. And she was in Scotland. I was or my dad was in Canada. And I was sent to spend a year with him. And the day I got there, he went through my bag and threw out the Ritalin and said, "You won't be needing that anymore." Said, "Okay, fine." Then I set fire to the bathroom. I set fire to the bathroom where he worked. I almost sexually assaulted a girl the same age as me. I'm like 8. But I didn't know any better. Didn't happen. Thank fuck. That would be a horrible thing to have on my conscience. But yeah, he threw it away and I went wild, which is going to happen, when you immediately take someone off their meds. But I've since, like in the last 20, 30 years, I've looked up and I find answers that do not correlate to my reality. And my reality is that if you give someone Ritalin, which is a nice medical name for speed for children, that when they become teens and early adults, they might want speed for adults. That's a thing that happens. It did drugs when I was a kid. Now I'm an adult. I'll buy my own drugs, and I'll buy what's available. And so, yeah,
that actually happened to me because I did speed for years, amphetamine, and Ritalin is made out of dexamphetamine. It's the same process, but the other way around. Basically,
it activates the same part of your brain. And if your brain is used to using it, is used to receiving it, you're going to end up craving it a little bit. And like I said, every piece of research I found has claimed that that's not a thing. That never happens. There's no higher tendency for people who've received Ritalin as a youth to use drugs versus anyone else. And I'm like, okay, your study may say that. Someone's lying to you, because that's not my experience. Thank you for jumping in and saying you got it too, because my 20s when I discovered drugs, woo. I went way off the deep end.
I would stay awake for a week and then party all week long and then sleep like 1.5 days and then continue partying. There were no breaks attached.
No, absolutely. I remember early 90s living in a household with a bunch of people, and we would go out and we'd get fucked up and we would dance all night, and then we would party all night. We'd come back at home and they would then curl up in the living room, smoke some bongs, get a little bit more wasted, eventually fall asleep. And I'm like, no, this must not end. I'm going to take some more. I'm going to the computer. I'm going to write some music. On the computer. What do you mean? It's 3 days later, I'm still writing. I've almost got the kick drum just right.
The hyper focus is really easy accessible then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's breaking down and you're activating. Actually, when everybody was taking speed, and I'd become calm in my head and almost normal. And then later, when you wake up, you're awake for a longer time. That's when you get hyperactive a lot.
I found that on speed, I could maintain a train of thought and a logical consistency from beginning to end for hours. So I would sit down to talk to someone and I'd want to tell them about the Illuminati. And they would they're on speed 2 and they would just randomly bounce, like their brains don't work like mine. They'd randomly bounce from this to that to the next. And I'd be like a sheepdog. Like, okay, you're talking about this. Let's just bring you back in. So more about the Illuminati. I'm like, fuck, man, it's been 4 hours. I don't want to talk about the Illuminati. I want to talk about Friends. No, your Friends. We'll bring it back to that's also the Illuminati. We'll bring it all back. And it was so many friendships, so many bridges burned, non-stop focus.
All right.
So recognizable.
So
I'm going for a bio break, by the way.
you go that, but before that, Big, hold on.
Yeah, I already muted my
Right,
mic.
so I mean, while we planned that we'll invite legends in our show, one of my sole purpose was to take the layers out of this man one by one so that we can reach the core of legends and put the layers out. So we'll continue doing that in due course of the time of this show. But before that, we are going to do the news segment. All right, Big?
Yeah, I need to control
you-
that. I'm doing a bio break first and
All
then the
right,
news
go ahead.
segment.
Go ahead. We'll do a bye break. Go ahead. So, Eric, come on. You have got any questions to ask? Go ahead. The man is here. I'm going to quickly take a bio break as well. Go ahead.
Okay, right on. I'm just glad
Way
you
to
could make
throw
it
Eric
in,
on
man.
the spot.
You know, I'm glad to finally get a chance to talk to you. You know, I've been watching your show for a while. These guys turned me on to you a while back, and watched some of your lives. And you know, I really hated to hear what's going on down there, and you know, with everything you guys are having to deal with, and because you've been doing this for so long, man, and having because didn't you say you were going to have to go through and delete all your content?
Yeah, I had to do that over the last 2 weeks. I actually did. I finally got around to doing Facebook and Instagram last week, and then just before that was YouTube. Uh, the short version of it is basically that in order to ban products here, what they've done is reclassified them. We have an organization, much like the FDA. It's called the TGA, Therapeutic Goods. So medicines, neck braces, motorized wheelchairs, anything that's therapeutic is under their auspices. They control it,
Okay.
and they have control and have always had control over liquid nicotine, and they schedule things on the different poison levels, etc. So they've always had control over liquid nicotine, but the rest of vaping products, they've said that's non-therapeutic. Those are consumer goods. We don't deal with that. That's not our issue. Just the vital ingredient. That's all we care about. And they had a set round of rules for how they dealt with it. In order to achieve what they wanted to achieve, they've reclassified what was previously consumer products as therapeutic products. So it's all now under their auspices, which means
Okay.
that they could do two things. One, they could say they could scrap a previous program, the import program that they had. So importing nicotine is illegal. They scrap that. Other therapeutic goods have always been illegal to import. Like you can't order medicine from overseas. You have to buy it in the country. You can't buy anything that is a therapeutic product from overseas. It's never been allowed here. So that's where they've managed to do something without changing laws, just by reclassifying something. So existing laws about therapeutic goods cover that. Existing laws about therapeutic goods, marketing and promotion also have existed for a long time and were beefed up over the last 3 years due to influencer frenzy. We've had TikTok people, we've had Instagram people promoting products that technically they shouldn't, and they're therapeutic products, and they beefed up the rules as to what could be done to them for doing that, which means that now vaping is under that same scrutiny. and that means that if I see you can say we're a pharmacy, we sell this product. Here it is. It's $9.99. You can do that. Certain things you can't advertise at all. Some things you can. It's a complex tier system, but they can say we have it. It's $9.99. You can't say it's $9.99 and it tastes like cherry and it's really, really nice. You can't say those things.
Oh, okay.
So any
Oh, no.
vape review where I say this tastes good, this looks good, this feels really comfortable in my hand. I like the way they've improved the grip on this mod. This is really easy to build. I think it's great for beginners. All that stuff, every single statement of that is an infraction. It's advertising or promoting the beneficial or positive. It's making claims about therapeutic goods. Can't do
So
that.
does that mean that if you went on there and said, this thing's absolutely terrible, never start doing this, kids, then that would be okay?
That's okay. You're not making positive claims about something.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Hey, Bang, I see one of your subscribers is like dying to ask a question. I think he's asking it to all of us.
Okay,
Put
go
it in
ahead.
the screen. Can you tell me if the E-Leaf iStick is a good vape or not? I haven't tried the E-Leaf iStick.
Oh,
So
let the pro answer this. The legend. I'm sure Legends knows about E-Leaf iStick.
I haven't tried an E-Leaf product in at least 4 years. E-Leaf are one of the old school companies. When you go way back,
Yeah.
the first wave of commercialization,
Yeah.
they were there. They were very, very good in their time.
Yeah, like
And
there was E-Leaf iStick Pico, I think.
yeah, the Pico, I've still got like 4 or 5 Picos sitting around here. They are solid. They are great devices. Only one I never liked was the Pico Squonk. Yeah, they were a good company at the time. There were some, looking back, there were some cheapnesses about some of the manufacturing process, but overall good products. But
I
like I
got
said,
an old one here.
yeah,
That's a really old one. With real old RTA on top. These are the battery caps, and this is also the button. Oh, no, it's on this
Nice.
side. This is really old E-Fast batteries in there.
Ooh, E-Fast. Yeah, like I said, they're a company that there's a whole bunch of them. Companies that sort of got overtaken in popularity and then looked like they folded. And I'm not sure if they went to different markets for a while, and then they've started coming back. A lot of them have come back, and it's weird. You see them coming back as disposable companies, and I just find it weird. It's like Limitless. If you know
Motofo as well.
yeah, it's like, well, Watofo kind of makes sense because Watofo is owned by Smock, so they're just
Yeah.
they bought
Is
they
it?
bought yeah,
Yeah,
they
it
bought
is.
they bought the brand out.
Okay,
They-
so here is an interesting story for Legends. Otofo reached out to Eric first. He's in United States and said like, we are coming out with this new disposable line, but you like to review it and do all those things. And Eric told them, yeah, it's fine, but I'm going to charge you $500.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say quite that much.
I mean, like almost in that
200 or
corridor.
something, right?
Now,
200?
they went back to, and same day they texted Bic, and Bic told me that I've got this message from Otofo, and I said, okay, that's fine. You both have got it. So Otofo is a good company. You can do it if you want. And then I came out of the bathroom, and my phone rang, and I picked up. I saw a message from Otofo, the same message.
Yeah.
So I told Otofo that, yeah, I will do it. And they asked me, can you send me your YouTube address so that we can look into it? And they saw it. And I'm not bragging about it, but I don't know what they expected, but they saw some kind of subscriber numbers in my channel. And they immediately came back to me because Eric asked for the money. So they told me, are you going to charge money? How much are you expecting? And is your friend Ivan is also going to charge money, and they were shit scared because of Eric.
You hadn't told me that. Yeah, I didn't know this.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Have you guys ever got the email? Dear YouTube reviewer, we've watched your videos and we think you're fantastic and would be a great fit for our brand. We have a new product coming out, and you look at the top, and there is the name and email address of 55 other channels. They forgot to hide them, and it's just a massive email. It's like, wow, I've got everyone's email now. I can email to Todd. I can email to Jay Hayes. I got everyone.
This is the same thing which happened with me with MNKE Bar. They are a well-known disposable brand now, Monkey Bar, and it did not end well. I abused them heavily and told them, F off, I don't need your product. If I feel like doing anything with your product, I'll buy one. I don't need it.
So it's about time we do the news, I guess. Let's play the bumper. There we go. News. Let's do like this. Into there, and I got some video clips for you guys set up. It's about Denver in the States. There's some crazy stuff happening there with vape shops. It's actually start the first clip, guys.
Showing thieves using a car to ram their way into the Darth Vapor smoke shop in Commerce City and then stealing everything they could.
Now, the shop owners hoping that someone will recognize them in this video and bring some balance to the force. Fox 31's Greg Nieto speaking with them. He joins us live all new at 9. Greg.
Yeah, get this, Erica. A store employee tells us this is not the first time that this store nestled inside of a strip mall has been hit. In fact, he says it's been hit more than a half dozen times in a little more than a year.
As you might expect, with a name like Darth Vapor Smoke Shop, business is good.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all grew up with Star Wars.
But overnight, business in the 4900 block of East 62nd was bad. Surveillance video showing 4 suspects, first trying to break the front glass door on their own, and when that didn't work, using what Commerce City police say is a stolen bright blue Hyundai to break through a glass wall. Regular customers,
I just heard somebody drove in or drove out.
upset about what is becoming a semi-regular occurrence.
I hope they catch them. I really do. You know, people are horrible these days.
With no one around the strip mall, the bad guys figured they had time to go back in for a second swipe.
I've only heard of beer runs. This is the first I've heard of this, of nicotine fiends or whatever they're called.
A store employee tells me the thieves didn't take any cash, only product. Proving crime might not pay, but it might buy you extra time on the dark side.
They don't have no respect or for anybody. You know, work for what what you want.
And the license plate number for that alleged stolen vehicle, Colorado DTG I93. Live in Commerce City, Greg Nieto, Fox 31.
All right, Greg, thank you.
So that was that.
Yeah, so there are 2 points which I noticed, and I would like to ask a question on that to Legions or all of us. I mean, 2 points. Like one, that it is not one-off thing. The guy is saying that it's almost a semi-regular thing. It's happening again and again. And
it happened 9 times in the last 2 months.
Yeah, and the second thing is the people who came into the store, they did not steal money. When they had the option, they went off with products, vape products. So, yeah, Sir Legion, what do you have to say about it?
Well, I mean, this event's of course happening in the States, which is a different political climate and different rules and stuff. But clearly, I mean, when you put bans, you put flavor bans, you put restrictions on things, you make them desirable. People will break into a shop or rob someone because they think there's a lot of money available or there's resaleable products. These people aren't looking for that. They're looking for something that either they can use themselves or they can sell in the black market. We've seen this exact same thing take place with increased frequency here in Australia. The situation here is a little bit different. The black market is much, much stronger than it is in the US because of the legal situation, and has been for quite a while. We have a black market that is, well, let's put it this way. In the States, if there's a black market on vape products, it's going to vary by state, and it's going to be put in place probably over the last 3-4 years based on what each individual state is doing. Here in Australia, we've had a black market for in excess of 30 years based around tobacco because they started pumping up the prices. We thought it was going to be crazy prices at the start, and they just never stopped, to the point where you're paying $80 to $100 for a pack of smokes in this country. If you do that, and the black market can supply the same thing for $15, the black market is going to grow. The exact same thing that happened in Prohibition in the US with alcohol is what's been happening here. And all they've done over the last couple of years is make vapes, instead of being an alternative to the black market, they've made them attractive. They've made them something that the black market wants to co-op. So we've seen ram raids just like this, as well as shop torchings where one shop gets burnt out because it's affiliated with the wrong crime group. That's how bad it's gotten here.
Wow.
Actual organized gang crime that is running tobacco, that is running vapes, that is running disposables into the country and selling them through shop fronts just like that. Like they're under the table, but they're illegal. And yeah, we've seen a ton of ram raids, a ton of arson attacks, and a couple of outright gang hits that are all directly related to this. So my advice to the government of whatever state that occurred in, to take note of that and maybe back off on the restrictions that are making it attractive to crime. That's what happens when we make something illegal. Crime wants to step in.
I'm also surprised it's happening often over there. Why are there not like concrete pillars or steel bars in front of the shop windows so a car can't really ram through it?
Well,
I don't
saw
think that is possible because there are a lot of shop, and you cannot do that with every shop.
Yeah, well, or at least a roll door. They can put a roll door and stop them doing that. But a roll door.
Happened.
The problem with roll doors is that they look very, very secure, and they do deter sort of casual theft. They're not very secure. You can ram right through a roll door within like 2 minutes. It's really easy.
If you have a big pickup truck. Yeah.
If it's a heavy door, it might take 2 hits. But when those things buckle, they buckle and they're gone. Glass windows, with a locked door, your average shop, we're closed, we lock the door and go home. It's fine for most places. But yeah, putting in some sort of bars and steels, especially stuff that's not going to shift when a truck goes through it, that's incredibly expensive. It's a huge outlay for a shop to do. You would think that after 9 times, you would get sick of replacing glass and do that.
Yeah,
that is exactly.
So since it has happened in Denver, so I would like to ask Eric, like, is it a normal thing in the United States?
Yeah, because I saw that was in Denver. And because a lot of the cities in the United States, the larger cities, not because I live out in a rural area, and a lot of the U.S. is like that, especially in the middle of the country. Denver is one city that's isolated. There's no other big cities anywhere near Denver. And a lot of those larger cities and some of the isolated cities like that have a really high crime rate. Because what a lot of these cities have done in the United States is stop prosecuting a lot of crime, because the concept was we have too much crime, the numbers are too high, so what do? Let's just stop prosecuting crime, so then our numbers go down. and of course crime goes up. So that's what we're seeing in a lot of the bigger cities on the coasts of the country. On the West Coast is where I hear the most of it. A lot of the larger cities in California and just up in like Oregon and Washington, but then also on the East Coast. But Denver is, like I said, it's more in the center of the country, but it is a huge city. I've heard there's a lot of crime there. So it didn't really surprise me to hear that that was there in Denver. I've never heard of anything like that happening anywhere near here. I've never actually even seen any. I know it exists as far as a black market for nicotine vapes in the United States. I've just never seen it at all. It seems to me that they're just so readily available here right now that there's not really much reason for that. And I'm sure, though, if they start implementing the kinds of things that they're implementing, down there and in a lot of other countries, and I hear that that's starting to be a thing that's kind of on the books in the legislation a little bit, and and I'm sure we'll start seeing it's just going to lead to a lot more things like that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to push it in the right direction, and of course, it ends up going in the wrong direction,
It's
like always.
but
So.
Eric, I have seen this with United States. Whenever you people have problem with certain things, you guys tend to legalize it. Like there is murders and killings because of heroines. Let's legalize it in some state. There is a problem with weed and marijuana. Let's legalize it. You have problem with you legalize guns. Why is it like that?
The United States is very split, and it always has been. But right now, since the 2016 election, it's very split. You've got half of the country. Well, for instance, in the United States, nicotine is kind of a right wing thing, while marijuana is kind of a left wing thing.
Oh
So,
boy.
so you have Democrat politicians in the United States want to legalize marijuana, yet they're going after nicotine. They're going after vaping. And then the Republicans aren't fans of marijuana at all, but they love their cigars, they love the Zyn pouches, they love nicotine. So you've just kind of got, and then my subscribers are fans of both, and I'm a fan of both. But that's how a lot of things are in the United States. Half people are for guns, half people are against guns, and it's just you have these two different factions that are right now more separate than I think they've ever been, at least in my time. So it's and with the upcoming election right now, everybody's kind of on high alert just to see. What's going to happen. Things have been moving one direction for a long time, and we'll just want to see what happens this year.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I said, because when you live in Canada, we live just above at the border, and we're constantly looking down, and we have a really hard time.
I'll be right back.
Differentiating between your culture and ours. There's a bleed. We absorb a lot. And so I think a lot of us, I mean, I clearly remember, being, I guess, 9, 10, 11, 12, whenever the bicentennial was, because I was an avid comic fan. So I'm reading comics. Every comic is got bicentennial ads. It's got bicentennial celebrations. There's a thing with Harvey Comics. If you collect enough UPCs, you could send it in. You get a Harvey, you remember Harvey Comics? Casper. Richie Rich, all that stuff.
Okay.
yeah.
That's going way back, isn't it, Harvey? Okay, yeah.
That's going way back. But like I said, the bicentennial, I remember that, and I was like proud. And it was like, wait a minute, this isn't even my country, but yay,
close enough.
So we've got a lot of that bleeding into us, and so we feel invested with what happens below us, and we feel like we're somehow part of it, and so. My view on watching the country is you're absolutely right. I mean, there's that definite split. There's both sides. It's not even a Republican or Democrat thing, although it's often pinned on that. It's just you have city and you have country. You have West Coast and East Coast, and everyone forgets about the middle. You've got the North and you've got the South. I mean, there's so many different splits in the country because it is freaking huge. It is one of the most populated countries in the world. Like there's not a massive area of emptiness. Australia is like a strip down the side and one city and just empty in the middle, right? We just nothing there but emus.
Yeah.
But America has got population centers all over the place. Like plop, plop, plop here. There's empty spots between them, but there's people everywhere. And when you do that, especially pre-21st century, you have culture that is different. We call it soda here, we call it pop there, we call it fizzy drink down here. It evolves differently. So America is very, very diverse. It's not a unified country. It never has been. It's very culturally huge and different and diverse. And when you think about it, it's a little bit bigger than Europe. And think about Europe, heavily populated, all these countries, these borders have moved back and forward so many times. And yet this area of Bavaria and that area of Holland are within walking distance, but they're so different, so very, very different. And the same exact thing, like Georgia and New Orleans, they're not the same. They're different people. New Jersey, Maryland, New York State, very, very different places. They're different countries that speak the same language. So there is so much.
Every state has their own set of rules.
Yeah. But they also have it's not even the legal rules. It's the cultural rules.
Yeah, cultural. It's like India. India has the same thing, but much more bigger and diverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you have that much diversity and difference, and then people grasp onto identity, and that's the thing. Like, I'm from this area, we say this, we eat disco fries, you don't have that. If you make that, that's insulting because they're from New Jersey. We do this, and we have guns, and we have our, they become attached to things that are they're just things. It's just stuff. It's just the way you speak, but they become very attached to it. And so, then it becomes very, those darn people from the north are trying to take away our slaves is not that much different from those darn people on the left are trying to take away our guns, which isn't very different from those darn people on the right are trying to take away our weed. I mean, yeah, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating.
Yes.
Macrocosm of people.
And I think it will always be that way to a certain degree. It's always been that way to a certain degree here in the States, but right now I think it's just more. I think it's more extreme now than it probably has been since the Civil War in the U.S.
Yes.
And that term's even getting thrown around here a lot over the last couple of years, and it's scary. It really is. And I don't think that we're near. I think that's more something that the media just likes to kind of feed because it gets views when you throw around words like that. I don't really think it's anything that is any immediate threat, but it's certainly something to it's an issue. So
I think that's I think you're absolutely right. I don't think a civil war is imminent. What I think is scary is that there are groups of people that listen to stuff and get motivated and they take action on it. And so civil war may not happen, but little militias in places do strange things. And or they go, fuck it, we have the right to storm the White House. And they just walk in and do nothing. I'll tell you a story. This is goes right back to the beginning. Unveiling the lair, seeing the inner side of Legion, way back in the day. I'm going to phrase this so I don't look like a complete asshole. When I was like 17 or so, I was hanging around the streets of Sydney. I was bored, and I was hanging out in this bar. And I was hanging out in the bar because old gay men were hanging there, and they would buy me drinks. And I thought that was awesome. Like, I don't have to do anything. I just have to pretend that maybe I might be interested, and they would buy me drinks. And a couple of friends, people I knew, rocked up, and they convinced me that the idea of rolling this guy, of taking his money, would be a good idea. Like I said, I was not a good kid. I've become better. But the idea was that I would convince him. We would go to his place, which was nearby. They would bust in and steal his stuff. My only job was to get them through the door, which we did. And they walked in, and they all stood there and looked at him, and he looked at them, and they looked at him, and they said, "All right, we're gonna go now." And we left, and I'm like, "I'm going with them," and we left, and nothing happened. And then the leader of those kids, like, I stole his pen, and I tell this whole story because they walked into the government buildings and they ran up and down, and one guy walked out with, I think, what was it, a stanchion, a thing you talk in front of, and he walked out with that. He's like, "I stole something," and they did nothing. They walked in, they roamed around for a while, and they were like, "Okay, we're done. Let's leave." I mean, they didn't do anything. It just reminded me of that so much.
Okay.
So I have another clip that is similar like that. Shall we take it away? Because let's see, I'll go to present video file.
Ridge are still searching for the people who ran
I
a
mirrored
vehicle
it, by the
into
way.
a vape shop earlier this month, stealing everything they could and causing thousands in damage. You can see it was all caught on camera.
And Denver 7's Christian Lopez spoke with shop's employees and also with Wheat Ridge police, who say this is part of an alarming trend.
It's getting out of hand. It's unnecessary.
Stephen Shepard is the manager at Cloud Smokes and Vapes in Wheat Ridge, a shop that was recently targeted by thieves.
You just see the car ramming into the front of the store. You see two gentlemen running in under our door and then just kind of coming over here and grabbing everything.
He says the physical damage ended up costing more than what was stolen, but the material items are the least of their concerns.
I'm fearful for me and my employees. What if that happens while I'm here? It's definitely starting to seem like a trend. Everyone that comes in here is, "Oh, what happened to your door?" And I tell them, they're like, "Oh, that sounds like what happened over there. What happened over at the jewelry store? What happened at a vape shop near my house?"
We spoke with the Wheat Ridge Police Department. They said they saw 199 burglaries in 2023. That is a 12% increase compared to the previous year. They say anytime they deal with any type of crime in the city, they do their best to investigate aggressively.
Sometimes property crime has that connotation of, oh, it's not as big of a deal, but to the victims, it is. That's their home or their business that they feel like has been violated. And so we take that incredibly seriously.
Alex Rose is with the Wheat Ridge Police Department.
It's really about the kind of flavor of the month. It used to be catalytic converter theft and motor vehicle theft, and we're seeing those drop down to earth. Now we're seeing more retail theft. We look at these things, we observe the trends, and we can't be everywhere all the time, but we do have targeted enforcement, things that we try to do where we'll partner with some of these shops.
He says one of the things they did in this case was add more patrols in the area after the break-in.
To just make sure that, A, we're following up with the business. We also want to be a physical presence and a deterrent for crime as well. But it was certainly an organized and targeted burglary, and that's concerning, which is why we want to get the video out there. So if anybody sees or knows anything, they can reach out to us and help us out.
It is scary.
In Wheat Ridge.
Because you never know what's going to happen.
I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
And Aurora is really cracking down on theft. We told you yesterday, City Council approved an update to the city's retail theft ordinance. So this update applies to the theft of $100 or more. A first offense now includes mandatory minimum 3 days in jail. A second offense, 45 days in jail. And a third requires at least 120 days in jail. Now, previously, the retail theft ordinance didn't have mandatory jail time. And the threshold to call it shoplifting was $300 or more.
And that has to scare them, the couple days.
That's that whole thing, yeah.
That picture, that scenario is nothing new in United States. We have seen this before. iPhone 15 launched and people are running into iPhone store and taking iPhones off. But the punishment they have come up with.
Yeah, it's worth the risk.
Look, microwave. The Equilop department seems useless.
I've only been busted. You get busted doing something like that 3 times. They lock you up for 120 days. On the third time, come on.
3 months where I don't have to work and I get a room and board and food, a little bit of exercise.
If I was homeless, if I was homeless in the States, I would just rob a store and make sure it's above $100, and I get free housing. Not a joke.
Can I just point out though that was Wheat Ridge, Colorado.
That's
That's
Colorado.
the same.
Yeah.
That's the same state as the previous one.
They were
look
trying
like
to
the same
emphasize
people.
there how like those were like the new ordinances. Oh yeah, we're cracking down. Now we're throwing you away for 120 whole days if you get busted 3 times. Like what was it before? You know?
That's why I put that video up there. The penalties. Yeah, I had to mirror it because I don't want any copyright strikes or whatever. So I mirrored the whole video.
No, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's continue with taking the layers out of Legion's lair.
Oh no.
Okay, so
haven't I given you enough already?
No. It's all about you. All right. So I always wanted to ask you this. Do you read books? Are you a book reader, book fan?
That is a story with a sad ending.
Okay.
Well, no, not really sad. Just disappointing. I was, despite being ADHD and hyperactive and running around and all that stuff, I was an avid reader. I was the guy who went to the the library, and they had to give me the adult card. Like early on, they didn't even question it. It's just like, you take out too many books, here, have an adult card. And I would walk out with 20 books, and I would come back 2 days later, give me more. And I would just be in and out. I was just reading constantly. And, at an early age, I was reading adult material. I wasn't really concerned with kids' books or anything. And we didn't have that young fiction section in those days. It's like you have Dr. Seuss, and then you have Nancy Drew, and then you have adult books. And there's nothing in between. So I just went straight to them. Fiction primarily. Anything nonfiction that caught my eye was related to, but a lot of fiction. Prominently science fiction of all genres and eras. Just because I was, but those were my dad's. Fantasy, yes, but I preferred harder science fiction. And read constantly. Into the early 20s of my life, and I'm busy a lot. I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm not reading as much, but I got heavily into Russian literature. So Alexander Solzhenitsyn, that sort of stuff.
Did you read it in Russian or translated?
Translated.
Okay.
I was just reading a book. I wasn't learning a language.
Okay.
Also, Hudson Orr, you forget burning down toilets. That was a big pastime. Took a lot of time. So a little bit of Russian literature, a lot of what we call alt literature. So like the beat poetry and beat novels, of course, Jack Kerouac, William S. Burroughs, all that sort of stuff. And then William Gibson, which is sci-fi, but weird. A lot of Philip K. Dick in my 20s. Again, that's science fiction, but weird. He had schizophrenia, and it really shows, which is why his writing is so cool and why they keep making movies out of it, because it's good stuff. Charles Bukowski, of course, can't miss Charles Bukowski, especially when life is going bad. Charles Bukowski will make you feel better. A lot of stuff like that. And then some. And then I can't forget this part. I stopped reading a little bit for a while because I'm busy. And then I bought a Palm Pilot. And for old people, they'll remember it. For younger people, it'll confuse them. But before cell phones were really a thing, when they were this big, when they were still this big, Palm Pilot came out. Palm Pilot was an extension of your desktop in your hand for business people. That was the original concept.
With the pen, right?
Yeah, it had a pen. It had a green with dark green screen. Later, they came out with the color one, and it was originally designed so that your email would be on it, but it can't send. You'd have to sync to your desktop, and then you could sync, get your emails, go on the road, do stuff, reply. And when you come back home and hook it up, it would then send, because the only
you had
connection-
like this base where you can put it in, and then it's going to be connected to your computer. Yeah.
And you could have your calendar, your scheduler, all that sort of thing. And of course, people wrote apps for it, and other things became huge. I was a massive software pirate, because naughty boy in my early days, and I found that you could get books. They were in PDB format, which is Palm database, and you could get books. You could get like a great book that you really liked. Someone would scan it. Someone would turn it into a text document. They turn it into a Palm document, and it was like 14K, tiny. So you could download an entire freaking library and stick it on your Palm Pilot. And I loved that. I worked in a store. I was a supervisor. And so I'd have to bus ride to work all day, 15-minute break, work a little bit more, half-hour break for lunch, work a little bit more, another 15, bus ride home. Palm Pilot in my hand every time I could. Whenever I'm not working, sitting there, coffee in my hand, reading a book. The great thing about it is finish a book, close that file, open the next one. Didn't have to carry multiple books. Great thing about it was 15-minute break, in the middle of a paragraph, stop, turn it off. When I come back, I'm right where I was. Haven't lost my place, no page bending or anything. Loved it. Read so many years that I worked there, and I just read so many books. Just went through them like crazy. And then after that period of time, I got busy. And the internet got more engaging, and attention span got small. And yeah, I haven't read a book in years. I'll be honest. I read technical stuff. I read stuff on here, but I haven't read books in ages.
Okay. So when you say Russian literature, has it got anything to do with politics, USSR, those kind of things?
I did read quite a bit of Lenin.
Mm-hmm.
I did read quite a bit of Marx. I was a member of the Socialist Workers' Party for a while when I was 16. You knew.
I knew it right away because I have done it also.
Yeah. Can I remember anything? No, can't remember much of that. I did read, like I said, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, his books. I mean, Russian literature. You pick up a book. I mean, you wouldn't use those books to prop up your table. You put legs on the book, and it is your table, and it's that thick. They're massive, right? And I mean, Solzhenitsyn, he wrote books about people whose lives just got definitively worse every single day. And just when you think like things couldn't get worse, you realize that you're still in the prologue, and there's more to go. And he's in the gulag, and he's going to spend 15 years there, and he's going to get abused, and then he's going to die in the gulag. And you turn to the last page, and you're like, yeah, he dies at the end. And you just keep reading the depression and misery. And it just gets worse and darker and darker. And that's pretty much how Russian literature constantly goes.
Yeah.
It starts bad, and it goes down, and you just follow them into that hole. And eventually you put it down, and you realize it's sunny outside.
So when you say you have gone through Lenin and Karl Marx, do you think that the idea they have about the social equality and all that, is it
No, you're going to make
reality?
me a lot of
Is it
enemies.
possible?
You're going to make me talk about it. I spent 8 years very,
the
very
idea-
carefully on YouTube.
Yeah. The
skirting
idea,
the
is it a
line.
reality? Is it possible in real life?
I don't think that any political ideology is possible in real life in any ongoing sense. Like if you set up a dictatorship, a complete totalitarian dystopian hellhole, it will eventually collapse. It will collapse in on itself. Its own corruption and a destruction of the people under it will lead to revolution. It will fall apart. If you go the other way and try to create a utopia, it will collapse in on itself. We are fundamentally flawed beings at our very, very core. We are so filled. Like I said, I've said it before. I am a misanthrope, which is defined as someone who hates people. I hate people because I love people. I love humanity. I love it so much. And it constantly lets me down. It's constantly like, you're capable of all these beautiful, wonderful things. And yet cumulatively, we go the wrong way every time. And individually, you just are fucking morons. You do stupid shit. And we vote against our own self-interests, and we give away the best of us, and we do it all the time. So I love what we can be, but I have no faith in our ability to hold on to that. And so the same thing goes politically. I think that we can potentially set up a functioning utopia or close to, but we'll destroy it.
Too loud.
This is the very first vaping show where I've heard someone go, "Dude, your crackle's pissing me off. Stop it."
Then you should watch Savage Simon's show. I had the mic set a little bit different back then, and if I sucked on my vape, you could hear it. None of the other casters. All 5 were muted by my crackle.
I've got a solution for you, Bick. There is a Stream Deck out there. There's multiple versions of the Stream Deck with more or less buttons, but there is one that I've never wanted to use, but it may suit you. It's a 2-button foot switch, and it sits on the floor, and you can just trigger stuff. So you get that, and you set up the switch so it hits your mute. Momentary mute.
I use control.
Wouldn't it be a lot easier if you could just stomp down every time? Every time you inhale, you stomp. And if you stream a lot, then eventually that'll become second nature, and you'll be walking down the street. You go, stomp. People wonder what's going on.
No, you will have the hand-eye coordination of a drummer, so you will have no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's finish this question with, if you have to suggest 3 books to us or to the viewers, Legions, 3 books.
Philip K. Dick, Valis. Just because that's the tipping point. He's a phenomenal writer. He wrote short stories. A lot of his best short stories have been movies that you've seen. Total Recall was one of his. Minority Report was one of his. Blade Runner was one of his. They were all short stories that got bought, and they're very, very different than his original story, but they make a great sounding board or a great starting place. But he gets into books, like longer novels, and he had some severe issues mentally with his life, and this Valis is at that cracking point. It's when things start to tip over. Ubik is the one that comes afterwards, and he's right in the middle of it there. Valis is a great place to start. It's really bendy, mind-twisting stuff. I'm going to cheat. The second book is 3 books. It was written as 1, so I get away with it, but it was released as 3 because it was so freaking long. It's called the Illuminatus Trilogy. See, I told you I'd talk about the Illuminatus. It is written...
Did you use something before the show?
Just coffee, man. I swear, just coffee, man. The Illuminatus Trilogy is a novel, a series of novels that tell a story. So it's not a conspiracy theory, although it's about conspiracy theories. It's about human nature. It's about our tendency to believe weird shit and go off in weird directions. It is just really weird. I was in Canada at this point, in my roommate's bedroom in the middle of a party, and I am wasted, and I am on the floor between his bed and the wall, and he's on the bed talking to some guy, and I'm really hoping they're not about to fuck, because he doesn't know I'm there, wasted on the floor between the beds. So I'd be stuck there. I'd be stuck there for the whole thing. But he was telling his friend was telling him about the Illuminatus Trilogy, and he was really, really into it. And I'm sitting there stoned and wasted and listening to this. I'm like, I got to read this book. This book sounds amazing. I'm like, I'm third party eavesdropping on this conversation, going, "This is fucking amazing. I got to read this. Everything he says just gets me." And so I've got to read this book. And eventually, it took 3 years for me to find a copy. I did, and it blew my mind. And it was really weird because back in the day, no internet. I'd read something and I would look up the historical in the encyclopedia, and it would be there. I'm like, the Illuminati were real? They existed? I didn't know that. This isn't made up. Holy fuck, this is the Bible. And I'm reading the book. And you get to the end, and of course, the whole twist is that nothing is real. Everything is permitted, all that sort of stuff. Just a weird, twisty, mind-blowing book. Liked it so much and identified so much with one train through the book that that tattoo there, which is really old and faded now.
See, I told you I'll reveal unknown things about Legions.
Yeah, I have weird cancer there. That's weird. I looked at. That is called the Sacred Cow. And you can see what we have here is an apple with a K in it. And over there you have Pentagon. So order and chaos. The apple with a K comes from the Greek myth of Eris. Eris was the god of chaos.
Yes.
Zeus threw a party, and he invited all the gods and goddesses up to Olympus to have a big party with him, big shindig.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, holy fuck, that Eris, man. She just causes so much. Just don't tell her there's a party. Just don't tell her. We'll have fun. And she found out there was a party. So she went to an artist and had him make a giant golden apple. It was the most beautiful apple in the world. It was made of solid gold, and she had inscribed into it to the fairest, to the most beautiful. And in Greek, that's Callisti. The word Callisti. And so she went to the edge of the party and she rolls the apple in, and the apple rolls in, and and finally stops, and all the gods see it, and each one assumes, well, I'm the most beautiful, aren't I? And they reach for it, and they all start arguing and fighting, and they're all pissed off at each other because they all claim the apple. Eventually, it comes down to being, I believe, it was Ares, god of war, and I can't remember who the other one was. And they have to have a contest. They can't figure it out. And Zeus is like, enough. We'll have a contest. We'll sort this out. You back those people on Earth, those humans, and you back those people. And this is part of why the Trojan War started, because that's the battle they played out to decide who would get the apple. She was a shit stirrer. She's like, yeah, I'm just going to cause some trouble. So this is all about the balance. You need a little bit of chaos. You need a little bit of order. You can't. And the most important thing that I learned from this book is that the more you try to impose order, the more chaos seeps in. And the more you allow chaos to run wild, the more order naturally evolves. You have to have both of them, and they will always try to work their way out.
Like yin and yang.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So before we go to our next segment, which is Vape Bar, we'll pay a visit to Vape Bar with our special guest.
I only gave you 2 books.
So
Book
you were telling me that is a book written in 3 parts. Oh, so you were not cheating us. All right, go for the third one.
Yeah, so the third one, I'm gonna say Post Office by Charles Bukowski. It is his first novel. He'd been writing poetry for a long time and prose, and he eventually sat down and wrote a novel. Everything that's in it is pretty much his life. He was very autobiographical in his work. And there's nothing really special. It's the story of a guy who just realized that his life is horrible and he's been working in the same place for far too long and needs to quit. But again, it's just really well written. It's really identifiable. The prose is gorgeous. And I think it's something that we've all experienced one way in our life or another. So I love that book.
What did you exactly learn from that particular book?
Don't do the same thing that you don't like for 10 years straight. Eventually, if you're going to do something for 10 years, make it something you love.
All right. Got it. So before, as I was saying, we go to our next segment and we pay a visit to Vape Bar. This is the last question. What purchase, I have written all down, what purchases of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months? It doesn't have to be essentially vaping or camera or stuff. It can be anything.
Whew. I mean, if you extended it back to the beginning, then it would be my first vape, because that obviously changed everything. But nothing vape has really changed my life or anything in the last, so it's not going to be that. 6 months. Wow.
There has to
I
be something.
can't. Something is so. My next review is about a piece of gear that is an overhead rig. That's made life easier.
All right.
It's also made me feel less boxed in. I used to have an overhead rig that sat here, which you couldn't see. And so it was always here, but then there's two big things on the side and sandbags at the bottom, and it was all covered in stuff, and it felt very closed in. And I've dismantled that, and I've moved that aside, and it's all gone. And I have a new overhead rig over here, which means that this is all open. They're all, there's space, and I feel less boxed in.
Okay. So
waving
to
my
get the
hands around
full
like a
answer,
Muppet.
to get the full answer to that question, watch Legion's next review.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Definitely.
You see what I did there?
Yeah, great one.
Absolutely. All right. So let's pay a visit to Vape Bar with Legion's Lair.
Yes, and the guest always goes first.
Oh my gosh. See, here's the thing. I spent 8 years as a reviewer. And so the first 3 years I bought my review stuff. So constantly looking for new reviews, new items, even things that maybe I'm not particularly interested in, wouldn't normally buy for myself, but I figured people would be interested in it. It's a new product. Let's get some information out there. And I was constantly doing that. In the last 5 years or so of it, I was privileged enough to build up relationships with companies, to have items sent to me. So constantly, except for the last year, it was just a rotation of whatever was currently in testing phase. Good stuff went into a box and went away, even though I might want to vape it. I didn't have time. I have 8 things that are in rotation for reviewing. And over the last year, that diminished a little bit, but was still there. I was able to pull out a few favorites here and there. And then this last month has been weird because I've had to change my channel. I've had to clean up my social media. I've had to protect myself from the Australian government and prosecution as promoting therapeutic goods, not legal, all that stuff. So I've kind of cleaned up and put a lot of things away. I haven't got rid of them, but they're boxed and put away. And I used to have a little forest on my desk of stuff, which I now have 3 things on my desk. One of which I'm vaping and have been vaping nonstop. The other 2 are intermittent. So my buffet is not going to be exciting. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing new, but these do work quite well. This is the Pulse Squonk. It's the last Squonk that came up from Vandy Vape. On top of it, it's got the D Pro Mini, which is a single coil, a tiny little flavor banger that I've had for ages, and the airflow is wrong. Let's adjust that. And on top of it is the, I believe it's the Crown. It's the Crown drip tip. It's some UL drip tip. This had a tiny little thing that wasn't working for me, so I put the great big mouthy one on there. This has been working really, really well. I have a problem with over squonking, so it's all juicy on the inside, and it always is. I can clean it like crazy, but that will never change. The usage of it and the excess liquid over the last month, because I've been using this pretty much since the day I stopped reviewing, just constantly been using it. The 2 magnets on the inside have come out. One of them's still stuck to this. The other one's sitting over there. This just sits there. It just sits. There's nothing actually holding it, but it just sits. And it works. It works. And I'm so freaking lazy that I have boxes of stuff that I could clean this up, put it away, grab something else. But I've gotten so focused on other stuff that I just keep filling it and using it. I've rewicked it a ton of times. When the bottle gets really low, I just find the next bottle and pour it on top. I'm not even being a flavor purist anymore. This has got a sadly discontinued liquid from a discontinued company. This is Vape Fossil. This is one of their liquids. This is the banana split. I have like a ton of old Fossil liquids from about 2 years ago that, I'm slowly going through. And this one was sitting in the I've started the bottle but hadn't finished it yet pile.
It's funny. It's called Fossil. It's called Fossil, and it's discontinued. It's hilarious. And how do you squonk? Are you like pressing multiple times, or are you like doing the one long press?
I do a little bit of both. This is a very small RDA, so there's not a lot of room in there. And when I freshly filled it, I tend to be very cautious. You can feel it. And then after a while, I'm just vaping and watching stuff or whatever, and I just get really lazy. And I developed a really bad habit when I first started squonking, which was, oh, I vaped. It must be dry. Squonk. I vape. Squonk. I vape. Squonk. And you just do that too many times, and eventually your deck floods. And yeah, it's a really bad habit that I've tried to break. And I got away from it for about a month. And I was being very careful, and then it just came back. So I've been vaping on that. I had
Legions,
this.
do you love banana?
I like the banana. Nice. I pulled this out. This is the Manic. This is Wotofo, one of their last non-disposable devices. This is like 3 years old. I have a box of old stuff that hadn't been opened, and this was sitting in there. I'd already reviewed it ages ago. This is one of the ones where you can actually, if you remember back a little while ago, it was a thing. This Dead Rabbit did one, Hell Vape did one, and they did one, and I think someone else did one where you could rebuild the coil. They sold little packs of wick and tools and mesh.
Yeah. They were like Tofo kits for like rebuilding pots.
Yeah.
You had this little tiny mesh, and then you had to roll in the cotton strip or like flat cotton, and it was really finicky.
Yeah, and I pulled this out because the vape wasn't that bad. So I pulled this out to give it a try again, and I've been using it for the last little while. It's working fine. If I continue to like it, I know a store in town in Australia that still has these, the rebuild kits. So I might stock up on some of those just to get me through a year or two of this. But this has been really, really nice. Using something actually really good in there. Fluid. Last thing that came in under the wire for me. A couple of bottles of fluid. I'll probably never get it again. This is the
the reviewer spec. The reviewer spec you got. Yeah, I got the same.
I am seeing a lot of fluids. Is it that good, Legends? Is it good?
It is good. It is good.
Okay.
Get your hands on it before your borders close, before the government fucks you over. Get your hands on some of this. It is worthwhile. The Grenadier, this is a sponge. It says, what is it? Creamy, buttery sponge cake with caramelized pineapple rings and a spot of cherry jam. I really like this one a lot.
Delicious.
It's almost done, but I like this quite a bit. I've gone through quite a few coils with it, actually. And finally, also with fluid, this is their Yorkshire Ripper, which is tea with a digestive biscuit dipped into it.
What?
It's more biscuit than tea, is what I found. And Birdie was vaping it as well, and he found it's more tea than biscuit, but he's vaping it much hotter. So it's quite a nice e-liquid. I've got it in this, which is
oh boy.
You guys know, you've been watching me long enough to know that this is the unmentionable. This is the billet box that shall not be named. This is the thing that Vandy Vape sent me and said they sent me 3 things. They said do a review on the first one. We'll tell you when to do the rest. And then they said, okay, time for you to do the second one. And then I heard nothing from them for like months. And then I wrote to them and said, "Can I review it?" And they didn't say anything. So I reviewed it, finished the review, sat it on the desktop, and waited. And
never
then
published it.
And never published it. And then they came out with another device, and I looked at the tank in the RBA and the new one they came out with, and I'm like, that is 98% this. This will never come out now. This is prototype only. It is.
That's a special thing you have.
Yeah, it is. It is the Berserker billet box. It is, or not billet box. It's still, what do you call it? It's still the Pulse with the Berserker
Okay.
RBA on the inside.
Okay.
And it is nice. And I have that little round drip tip, which looks and feels like a nipple because I am a child at heart.
But that's the precursor to the Pulse AIO V2 or something, you say?
The Pulse. I stop reviewing and then immediately forget everything. That's my excuse. It's just because I have an old mind. It is Vandy Vape. I won't tell you which one it is. It's the big one. It is the one. There we go.
It's not the V2, I guess.
No, it's not the V2. That's the metal frame. That's the one that came out recently.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. When I go to their site, they don't list all their devices. Have they stripped down? No, they haven't. It can't be right.
Your geo blocks.
It's not. It's not the 0.5. It's not the mini. Is it the 0.5? It's the 0.5.
Okay.
It is the Pulse 0.5. But then again, it's got its own special doors and the Berserker tank on the inside. Like I said, I don't think they're going to release it now. I mean, I've had this thing for like 10, 11 months now. It's been a long time.
This should already be released if it were to release. Yeah.
That's a nice little device. Needs re-wicking though. So I'll go back to this thing that leaks and is a mess and has no magnets, but just works. That's it. That's all I got.
And who do you pass it on to?
I'm going to pass it on to Eric. I want to see what Eric's vaping.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, Eric, there you go.
I bet he'll come up with certain things Legions has never seen. I can guarantee you.
You know, I've got things today that I had never seen before. So, well, start off on the nicotine side of things. Now, this is a company that has already been mentioned. Monkey Bars.
Oh boy.
Yes, we spoke about these earlier. These guys got a hold of me. They were one of the first companies to ever reach out to me. It's been probably at least 6 months ago or so that I talked to these guys, and they sent me out some of their original line that I reviewed, and then this was the second line that they released, and they're all disposables. They're a 5,000 puff disposable. Similar to they kind of look about the same size as like an Elf bar, like a BC 5000. Where's the one I have that's actually in the box? But let's see here. And I've got 6 different flavors of these. And essentially what these are is they're all mint and fruit combinations. Like for instance, like we'll go through, they've got a strawberry mint. They have a pineapple mint. They've got just a regular mint. And spearmint.
You're quite
And then
natural. Mint is written on the top of the box, so everything is minty.
Yes, like the series is mint.
Yeah,
and so they
that
all
is what I'm
taste like
talking about.
mint, but then they have a fruit flavor just kind of mixed in as well. My favorite one was actually this cucumber mint. because I thought, what is a cucumber vape going to taste like? And it doesn't taste like cucumber, really. It tastes like a honeydew melon, which I'm actually not that big of a fan of the fruit, but I love this vape. Definitely my favorite. That melon mixed with that mint just worked really good.
Is it in the box right now, or you're vaping it?
You know what? That's what's funny. I left it on the charger in the other room, so I'm looking for it right now. And no, it's actually, yeah. Hold on a second. Here, I'm crazy. Here we go. Here's what one of them looks like. So basically the same size and shape pretty much as an Elf Bar BC 5000. These, I think they're a little bit thinner. They lay in my pocket a little bit better. I've vaped through quite a few of these. I actually wanted to vape through all the flavors before I talked about them. But and certainly the cucumber one's my favorite. But
That's a real good short review you have already done from M&K.
Yeah.
so
That'll be
pretty standard
$500.
output.
That will be $500. I was about to say that.
But
oh no,
one
this
thing I
is
do
live,
like about
thousands.
I think they've got really good, a lot of disposables, I think kind of tend to have almost a little bit of a chemical-y flavor to them. The liquid just doesn't taste like quality liquid. And I've noticed that especially since Bongolier sent me out this refillable, and I've tried some of the foods for that, kind of made me realize, some of the differences and the different nuances you get from different types of liquid. And I really like what they use in these monkey bars. So that's those. Now moving into
Get some weird stuff.
the THC portion of these things. Okay, now I haven't got to try these yet because I just found these last night. This is something I'd never seen before. I went into a new vape shop that I didn't even know existed. I thought it must have been a new place that just popped up just in the last month or two, because we get that a lot over here now. New shops all the time. But these guys actually said they've been open for a year. I guess I just never noticed them. But I found these. What these are, they're made by Cake, which is a really popular company for the Delta 8 THC side of things. But
Is it a THC cake?
Well, that's just the brand name is Cake. They make vapes and gummies and everything, but these are actually mouth strips. They're like those old Listerine strips that they had back in the day for freshening your breath, but they've got Delta 8 THC in them.
So you suck on them. You suck on it.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember these things. I'm sure they're still around. There were just this little piece, it almost looks like film, that you put on your tongue and it would just dissolve and taste freshens your breath. Right?
Yeah.
So it's basically that. It just disappears, freshens your breath, and gets you just a little bit high. So I think it's a cool concept.
About time you take one.
Well, I haven't even opened these up. I was actually going to do an unboxing video on these, so I haven't even opened them yet. So
this
I don't
is
know
like
if I want to jump into it in the on the live, because I don't know how strong these are.
This is like Willy Wonka's THC chocolate factory.
It is. Well, they make chocolate bars and everything. They're making not this company. I'm not sure about if they do or not, but I'm seeing Magic Mushroom chocolate bars, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff over here.
Boy,
But I think this could be really interesting. Something you could just use everywhere, and nobody has any idea that you're doing anything. So it's extremely discreet, but it's legal. So it's not like you're doing anything that's going to get you in any type of trouble, because you can just buy these in a vape store. You have to be 21 to buy them. But other than that, it's completely federally legal, at least in the United States. Now, there are some states that do have like state bans. There's a few of those. I think just one or two. But for the most part, this is going to be federally legal in all the states over here.
Okay, what's next?
So that's that. And here's another thing I found at that same oddball vape shop. These are by a company called 3Chi. Now, this company is actually based out of Indianapolis, Indiana, over here, which is only about an hour from where I live. What these are drink mixes with THC in them.
So there are
essentially
THC electrolytes?
Yes, you just make it, I guess so. So you just mix it in with a bottle of water, whatever, and it's got each one of these. I mean, they're not a huge dose or anything. Yeah, 10 milligrams of Delta 9. So, but for a lot of people that don't have much of a tolerance, 10 milligrams of Delta 9, do you pretty good.
I suggest you only mix it up with one glass, just a normal long drink glass with water.
Yeah, they're just single serving, so just like one bottle of water for one pouch of these. And then, but they're not super expensive. These I think were like $4 a piece. They're not a real expensive thing.
Yeah, so get
So
rehydrated and get stoned at the same time.
absolutely, you know they were really thinking with this stuff. They're starting to get really creative over here. I mean, I've even seen you can even buy a Delta 8 powder here that you can just mix in with anything you want. You could make a cake out of it, just anything. So I like
Yeah.
seeing all the different stuff that everybody's coming up with.
Legends is saying something.
I remember back in the day, my girlfriend at the time spending a day and a half boiling down. I think she was boiling down shake, the best she could find
Oh.
shake to make butter, to make cakes,
Yeah.
and you know, completely illegal at the time, you know, and now it's just like just walk into a shop and buy some pre-made, ready to go brownies, cakes, drinks,
Yeah.
lollipops. Strips.
Yeah, the days of having to meet some weird, strange guy in the alleyway are kind of over.
calling around to all your friends to find the one guy who knows someone who's still working today and has something in stock.
Yeah. And the vape shops over here are definitely getting keen to these products because they're staying open really late. Like there's vape shops that are open till like 11, even like midnight over here now. And I think the Delta 8 stuff is probably the reason for that. But that's pretty much what I got today, guys. So I'll pass it. Let me pass it over to you, Vic. What you got, buddy?
Yeah, that's a better option.
That's a better option. Okay, it's about time we dove down, I guess. Let's dive down. Back to the desk. I got some pods, of course. Let's start with the pods. These are the pods I'm using at the moment. I'm going to group them up, otherwise I'm going to go way too long. But I got the S6 Mini Pure Max here, which is very leaky, but the vape quality of it is pretty awesome. And it's not too bad on my pod, but the first one that I got, oh man, it was drowning in liquid. I got the XCOS Pro, the pregnant one. And I'm still testing the Ursa Nano Pro. We're really liking this pod system. It's really good. Just the capacity 2 ml, yeah, runs out of liquid quite fast. I'm also on Topside Dual with a Dead Rabbit Max on top. Ooh. And some Aussie liquid. Some Chocolate Eclair by Licious. And
isn't that one so good?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like my morning vape with coffee and stuff. And, another Squonker with the green panel, the Empire, with the demo RDA on top. And I got some bubblegum liquid in there. That is really good. Of course, I'm also on the Cthulhu Craftsman, the review you watched this morning, Legion.
Yeah.
Still the same battery in there. With a nice wrap. And the Bishop 2 MTL. And there's another Aussie liquid in there. I don't know where the bottle is right at now. Oh, here it is. Some Rebel Bogan. Plum Job. I'm not so big in tobacco flavors, but in this setup, it's pretty nice. Especially the Plum Job, because it has that sweet aftertaste. And yeah, I'm also on the Fumitech Air, the e-shisha, which has a really big pod. It's like a 6 ml capacity pod. Really nice. It gives me just nice vapor in the big cloud for what it is. So I'm liking it. I'm putting it on the wrong way around.
Don't worry, I'm going to send you a real Indian hookah.
Yeah, but I don't want combustion. or a real hooker. You mean a prostitute or a hooker? I'm also on the GT Mod Studio side by side. K Pro Xun, I think it's called, with the Typhoon GT4S on the side. I don't remember what liquid is in there, but I'm digging this setup. And then I have actually another Aussie product, 2 stubbies, with tall boys inside. One is for the VC Tech coils. That's in the bigger stubby because that's the 21700 and the 0.15 ohm coil in there. And here I'm running the Hussar bridge in. So, and what kind of liquid? I'm using actually the same liquid in both. Oh, let's put the right panel on the right one. Using the Lychee Guava by Tropical Vibes from the UK. And I'm dripping on the Drop Dead 2 with the Lost Vape Telemo Solo Retro Gamer Edition. And I'm using a Canadian liquid in there, 12 Monkeys Circle of Life, one of my favorites. And yeah, I got another Drop Dead 2 on the M200. And I'm using Summer Soda Apple Raspberry Fizz in there. So yeah, that's really nice. Now going to something more powerful. The Hammer of God with the Valkyrie XL on top. And inside of that I have some Zeus juice. Dead by Bunny, the last bit of it. And now we're going to the mechanicals. I pulled out one for a microwave oven because he says you better pull it out. Now here's the Revival Mech with the goon on top. And inside of that, I'm dripping some grape from Yeti. I don't know where the bottle is right now. I had it in my hand. Oh, here it is. Some Yeti grape. Also, on the Prey, the limited edition with the Juggernaut V2 mechanical. And here's my little baby. Oh, by the way, in the Prey, I got these two mixed up. The chocolate.
Easy to do. Easy.
Yeah, yeah. I overmixed the raspberry white chocolate. So yeah, I'm putting in this first and then adding some strawberry swirl to get the nick a little bit down, and then it's really nice. Now my favorite mechanical. Maybe zoom in a little bit for this one. Oh, did a little bit too much. There we go, from France, from Wheels and Time. It's a 21700 Artem with a Fat Rabbit 2 RTA on top, and in that, some lemon tart from Licious. Really nice. It's a typical flavor. I can take a couple of drags and then I'm finished with it, but I'll grab it later. I like it. Then I can only pass it on to one person, I guess. It's your turn, Bangler.
Yeah.
You stalled
I'll
long
not
enough.
have much of time because not too much going on this week. So this is my SAN. So on SAN.io, I have got this is Donut King's cakes. This is the first time I'm trying it. This is raspberry scone, and this is actually very good. And on my .mod V2, on this one, I have got the original lemon tart. Yeah, from Dinner Lady. And on my RPM 4, I have got this Drake's Cherry. This is Syrian Latakia tobacco and cherry. This is not for normal person. This is not even smells like normal tobacco. Yeah, Latakia tobacco smells like burned wood and spicy, leathery. So if you don't like this, if you don't know it, you probably will think you have burnt your coil or something is wrong with the liquid. Yeah. And
or maybe you just burnt your coil.
No, I did not. That is Latakia. I know it. And this is Sonder. This one was gifted to me by Eric. And on the Sonder, I have got this IVG's sour raspberry pomegranate. This is actually, like, I have rarely seen pomegranate liquid. Very hard to find a good pomegranate liquid. But this one actually gives you this astringency, like that feeling of dry mouth when you chew on pomegranate seeds. So it has replicated that beautifully. So it is one of my favorites. So yeah, that's it. And one thing, this is from Indonesia. I have a lot of Indonesian liquids I love, and this is Banana Licious from Indonesia. And it authentic banana, but it smells like the banana which is extremely ripe and almost has become black. The smell you get from the banana, it is actually that. So yeah, pretty good. That's about it.
I'm a little bit disappointed. Where's
What
the
do you want
dripper?
to?
I
Oh
want to
boy.
see the. I see it in the background. That's the dripper I sent you.
It's here. It's sitting here. So I have always been a pod kid. I mean, I use 20 mg, 30 mg, 50 mg, but this guy Big has forced me into like
Rebuildable.
rebuildables and dripping and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I sent him the dripper. I sent him the tools, the coils, the
Yeah.
cotton.
Now you've got that pomegranate vape there. Pomegranate's not really a thing over here too much. I had one time when I was a kid, and I don't really remember what pomegranate tasted like because the only thing I remember was the thing was such a pain in the ass to eat. I couldn't really figure it out, and it was just like there's so many of these tiny little seeds in the skin. I'm like, why do people even bother with these things? I just don't get it.
See, an apple you just bite into. You don't even have to peel. It's just you eat it. An
That's what I'm
orange
talking
you
about.
peel and then you reel the goodness. A pomegranate, I love pomegranates, but it's a task. You need to set aside a period of your day. You're going to take your time, and it's like I'm North American. We tend to eat like open your mouth, shove stuff in, swallow. We just 3 bites, I'm done my burger. My wife yells at me constantly. It's like, slow down, you eat your food too fast. Like, no, I eat like it's my heritage. It's the way I eat. Pomegranates, sit there and you're like,
It's got to be really good for you because it has to burn more calories to eat it than what there can actually be in the thing. So
That is why go and buy a bottle of IVG sour raspberry. You don't need to buy a pomegranate.
I would probably have a much easier time finding the vape juice than the pomegranate around here.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. Now let's continue.
Yeah,
with the last
Legion.
part.
I got a question for Legion as well. Legion, like you before the new restrictions in Australia come, you were the second vape YouTuber in Australia, right?
yeah, we could say that.
You could say, yeah, it's Bogan, then it's you, and then it's Preacher Reviews, I guess, in Australia. Yeah, I suppose to. And now you made the switch like a month ago to a new niche, but actually already aligns with what is in your heart, content creating and photographic and stuff like that. And how is that now progressing for you on your channel?
Well, I've gone from being the second most popular vape YouTuber from Australia to being the 36 millionth popular content creator reviewer on YouTube. Seriously, I'm so far at the bottom now. It's been an interesting transition. Figuring out, or not figuring out, but fighting with the algorithm to convince it that I'm something different and getting it to treat the channel that way. Watching the numbers shift. I mean, when you have 8 years of content, not all of it's evergreen, but there's always someone who's interested in some old thing. So you get random hits. Like if you don't put up anything, you'll still get a couple thousand views over the day. You just have that much content. You don't even have to be popular. It'll just go through, and that's all gone. So those views they don't occur. So watching those numbers just shrink down. Watching, and I've said this time and time again. I don't hold it against them, but it does hurt to watch the subs disappear. I mean, that number is it's not huge. It's not a massive amount, but some people are walking away, and that's fine. Like I said, I've said time and time again, they come to the channel for vape content. It doesn't do that anymore, except for a little bit fed into the live streams. If you're not into that, if you're not into making videos or taking pictures or improving your content in any way, this has nothing for you. Then why would you stay subscribed? You're not into it anymore. Walk away. That's fine. I have nothing against that. But again, it's really weird to be in the position of being effectively a brand new starting channel starting from scratch. I have 12
Starting
videos.
from scratch. Yeah.
But I'm fully monetized. Normally, it
Yeah.
takes people anywhere from 6 months to a year to get to that
Yeah.
point. I have over 40,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Boom. It's like I'm like an old channel. I'm an established channel, but I'm also a brand new channel. That's a really weird place to be in.
Weird place to be. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's-
I can imagine it's exciting that you have to climb up again and doing the fight again. It's also
It
Yeah,
is.
it's
I'll
exciting.
tell you the truth. I mean, my videos, they're not getting fed through the algorithm. People aren't seeing that they're there that much, like the target market for them. So views are much slower and less than they used to be. That is what it is. But I put out a video a little while ago, week or two ago, and the first 2 days, nothing much happened. And then for some weird reason, it did end up on the front page for a little while. And so it was weird. I was like, the day it was released, I got 30 views. And 3 days later, I had 100 views. And this day, it went up to 600 views in 8 hours, which isn't huge, which is like, I would have got that before in the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
If not the first hour at
But it's a progress anyways.
Yeah, but I was excited, and it was like,
Yes.
wow, I haven't been excited about 600 views in years.
Now that
I
is
mean,
good that you
so-
still have that excitement.
Yeah,
Even if you saw only 600 views
it's
after all
fun.
the work and 40,000 subscriber, that is something makes you special. Other people would have cried like, oh shit, look at this. I've got only
Ah.
600 views, but it still makes you excited. And that is cool about it.
Well, like
Yeah,
I said,
because he realizes he's starting over.
Yeah,
but
it's like
with all stats. Yeah, it's like starting a new RPG game with the old stats of the previous game you played.
It's not about realization. I don't think Legions puts in his contents in YouTube just because of subscribers and views and being recognized and all that. It's also because he loves creating things. He loves editing and
For
the
sure.
love of these things. That also motivates him. I'm
And
sure
sharing
that
it, sharing it,
yeah.
sharing it with others.
I love creating. Always have. I mean, I was a photographer for years, professional photographer for years before I did the channel. I love creating. I love all the aspects. I'm just as people are with vaping. It's like every new tool, every new toy. It's just a fun day to explore it. Man, send me a new lens, send me a new light, send me any little clamp, little arms. I mean, all the bits and pieces. I'm fascinated and in love with it. But also the other part is that I like sharing it. I like sharing little tips and tricks and little ways and just kind of my thoughts about, maybe you don't want to do this, maybe you want to go that way. It's a little easier to get this shot or whatever. All that sort of stuff, like helping other people bring their game up a little bit if they want to, if they're open to that. So I love that part of it, and that's kind of what it's all about. Numbers, even with the vape stuff, numbers and subscribers and views, they're a metric that you use, but they aren't the goal unto themselves.
Yes,
And the
absolutely
point
right.
of that metric is the more they are, the more they inflate. You have two things going on. The more people will see them and see
Yes.
what you're doing, and that's a good thing, is you're getting it out there in front of people, so you're doing your job. But the other part is the more your metrics shine good, the more companies take a notice. This is what happened with the vape thing. Eventually, at some point, a company took a risk on me. Other companies saw that and they will take a risk too. I did well and they saw that. And that allowed me to make more content, to share more things, to give my viewers a broader and wider view and a more timely view, newer things before they were released, as opposed to I got it 6 months later and now I'm showing you because I had to buy it. So that's always fun as well. So my hope with the channel is to get to a point where the similar happens, not to the point of, oh, I get brand new fancy $10,000 cameras. That's never going to happen. I don't have a goal of that. I don't expect that. But if smaller companies wanted to work with me and reach out at some point, then that's something else that I could share with people. And the ability to actually turn around, it's a little bit different from vaping, because when you get sent something from a vape company and then you write and ask them a question, you usually don't get an answer. Or if you get an answer, it's like 3 weeks after your review came out.
Yeah.
Whereas with the film and creator stuff, if I was doing a piece of software for focus stacking, I could write to the developer and say, hey, there's this weird thing when you do this. Is that meant to be there? They would write me back and they would say, yeah, that's supposed to be there. You just have to do it this way. Oh, okay, great. So I can now include that info in the video. So the more fully featured content that I could make when you have that sort of connection. I'm kind of looking forward to that. The other thing about,
but you're still building those connections. I can imagine. Yeah.
It takes a while. It's going to take me quite a while. The other thing about it is that, look, I loved creating content and I loved creating vape videos, but I will admit that the last year and a half of my reviews, there were some high points. Most of those high points were in the first 30 seconds of the video. That was the creative part. And the rest of the video was, here's my face, here's my table, here's my face.
Understand.
Bye-bye.
I know what he's going to say. Yeah.
Just wrote doing the same thing
yeah.
over and over, to the point where I stopped doing my face at the beginning. I just started right on the table. And you would see my hands that say, today we're reviewing this. And then I would just get into the table section. No 5-minute intro, no telling you about the company or anything like that. I just straight into it, just cut it short. And it just became very rote. Now I'm reviewing stuff. It's different every time. Every device that I review requires a different concept, a different aspect. I'm looking at doing some stuff that gets me out of the house a bit more. Some of the material will be filmed out there, or some sample material will be. So that changes up the whole thing. And the vape review standard of face, table, face, goodbye. That does not work for this content in any way. It's much more of either a voiceover all the way through while showing other stuff, or there's just a lot of there's more B-roll type stuff. It's like I'm talking and then we'll cut away to me doing something while I continue to talk. Then we'll come back to me and I'm still talking. And so, and also just trying to make it tighter. I'm still working on that. I like to talk too much. I like to give too much information. And so the videos just sort of, they bloat. They're just trying to cut them down.
The first time when I saw you, the why your videos caught my eyes were, normally everyone does the same thing. I'm going to review this and then talk about the thing, and then we go in a close-up, and then we come up and take a couple of puffs. That is what we are doing for a long time now. So in one of Legion's videos, I saw it's starting from a table where the product is there. And the look of it was very retro, not bright light, but enough light, a reddish retro vintage look. And his logo, the Legion's Lair logo, is evaporating kind of thing in thin air, and it's zooming into the product. And I thought, oh, wait a minute, who is this? And I thought that he would be someone from a company like Smoke or Vaporizzo and something like that. And from that point onwards, I was like, oh my God, this is different. This is different. This is creativity.
I am, like I said, when I started, obviously I was very excited. Vaping had changed my life. I was evangelical. I was annoying everyone that I ran into because it was like, have you heard about vaping? I want to tell you about vaping. And I needed some way to get that out, and I went on YouTube. And I looked around and I saw, okay, so I've recently started vaping. I see this person in Scotland and that person in Yorkshire and this person in LA, someone over in New York and someone in Vancouver. So people from all over the world, and they're talking about vaping. They're doing the same basic thing, but each one is a little bit different. Their personality, their tone, And I started paying attention to the chat and the comments. And I would see this face appears in these three, but not that one. This face appears in these three, but not those two. And it was like this sort of epiphany, this moment where I realized they may all be doing the same thing, but they are different people. It's not the product. It's not the gear. It's the people. And the point is the product. The point is letting people know about it and how it works, etc., and get them used to the idea of vaping. But it's the people that keep them coming back. And it's a different tone of voice and a different personality reacts better for those people and is wrong for those people. But that guy who's loud and obnoxious and he cuts all these jump cuts and he's just all over the place. He is great for all these people, but not those people. And I thought, well, I have a voice and I am me and I'll just be me the way I do it. And those people that are right for me, they'll come. And some of them will be right for them, but they'll also be right for me. And I'll find my own niche. And so that's where I started. And that was my mentality at the very, very beginning. And I've held true to that all the way through, I think. But the other part of it is that I always felt, I looked around and I said, some people have production values and some people don't. And no judgment. If you just want to tape your phone to the roof and film, that's fine. But I was coming from the photography and the commercial photography line, which is, striving for perfection. And I've always tried to outdo myself. I've always tried to deliver more than the consumer expects. And so I went the same route. It's like, I'm not really great at this, but I can get better. If I get 1% better this week and I get 1% better the next week, then that's 2% better than I was now. And if the week after that I get 1% better again, I'm better than I started, right? And I'll just keep doing that. I will just keep upping that level. So it's learning things. It's buying 3 different mics until I finally hit the right one with the right sound that doesn't make noise. It's a great big softbox after multiple different choices and choosing things. It's fighting to find the right, and this is the next video, fighting to find the right overhead rig. I have gone through like 7 different variations of overhead setups. This one, if the table wobbles, the camera wobbles, but they don't wobble together, so that's no good. And this one is just a pain in the ass. And that one is just constantly wobbly, and just finding the right one to get a rock solid position. Pretty much dedicating the best camera I have, 6K, to the overhead, because I know that if I'm delivering in 4K, 6K gives me enough extra resolution that I can film a wide shot overhead, start to end, and I can zoom in afterwards, and I can zoom to the corner, not to the middle, and I can gradually zoom that out, and I can add a little bit of pizzazz to the whole thing. Little tiny bits, little tiny things that all add up over time to producing like better content. I'm not great. I'm not the best. And it's become immediately apparent exactly where my flaws are in my shift to the new version. But yeah, microwave oven, you would think that, but I can find a way to make it wobble. Trust me. If there's a camera attached to it, I will make it wobble. But yeah, that's pretty much been the path, and that's the goal, is just to constantly up the production value and make things better, and to find that balance between it looks professional without looking slick and overdone. I cannot hear a word you're saying. You're muted.
Ain't got your big.
Yeah.
All right.
I muted myself. But
No.
I bought an arm for down view. And the first time I put it on my table, but when you touch the table, the thing starts wobbling. So now I have mounted it to the camera that you're seeing me through now on the stative. That where it's standing on, and I really had to screw it hard, but it had 2 flat sides. But it's working now, and now I can hit my table and it doesn't wobble, because that is annoying to watch.
It is.
And dive downs.
When you are editing and you see that wobble and you're like, can I fix this? Can I stabilize this? How much will that how much time, how much work will that take? How bad is this? How much will this annoy people? Do I let it go? I do believe in the publish and move on mentality. Like, you get to a point, you can't just keep cycling. It can't be like, you can't film a whole review and then be like 90% way through editing it and go, oh, that's no good. Scrap it all, do it again. I'm a perfectionist. Nothing will ever come out. You have to accept, at some point, you have to accept it as the flawed product it is. The next one is better. Get it done, get it out, move to the next.
I can do that easily. I'm only busy with this for like little over a year, so there's still room for improvement.
like I said, man, 1%. That's all you need. So you do you do 100 videos, and that's nothing in the vape world. You do 100 videos, you're 100% better than you started.
Yeah, I watched some of my first videos, and I can't believe anybody even watched me back then.
Same for everybody.
Exactly.
Same for everybody.
Especially on the THC vape reviews. There were some of those early ones I did where at the end I'm just kind of babbling. I'm like, man. But some of those that I thought were the worst ones were the ones that got the most views back then. It's where I just kind of went off on a tangent and maybe got off on a different subject. And I realized you talked about that. People enjoyed, I think, that human aspect of me a little bit more, because I thought the video was just going to be a huge flop. And it was.
Yeah, that's why when we started streaming, it was like we said on day one when we started the Aussie Vape Show. So this is not, even despite the name, this is not a vape show. This is a vape adjacent show. Vape's here. It's part of this. But there's so much more to us. There's so much more to you. Let's talk a little bit about that. And let's let our personalities shine a little bit, and our interests, and just sort of go off on things. And I'm glad to see, I don't know if we were an influence in that, but prior to that, I would see some panel shows, and it would just be vape nonstop all the way through. It's like, I love vaping, but you guys just talk for 2 hours nonstop about vaping with nothing else. I know nothing about you. This is hard to engage with you.
Well, yeah, this is our opportunity to kind of do that. I mean, if people want to hear us talk about vapes, we have plenty of videos about that. So I think this is a nice opportunity for us to and get to know each other. You know, getting to know you. I've been wanting to chat with you for a while. So this is great. You know, we learn a different side of each other, and then everybody gets to learn a little bit of a different side of us. And I'm enjoying these live shows. I was a little bit intimidated by doing these because I hadn't done anything. I was in radio a long time ago, but this is I'd never done live on video before. So, but I think it's great. I think it's great that we do this. And here we are, 2.5 hours, and we're still going. It's great.
It's easy. It's easy. When you have people with ADHD, we will talk nonstop.
Yeah, I've been accused of that myself a few times. So. And I don't know if these THC vapes help with that or make it worse.
They make you enjoy it. That's the important part.
Yeah. I've been smoking weed for years, and I've now stopped like since 2021 with smoking weed, and I'm actually calmer since then. And I was always thinking the weed is keeping me calm, but no.
Yeah, Legion, I want to check out some of your new photography videos, because that's something that I've always wanted to learn.
You should.
More
You should.
You know, so I definitely want to check it out.
I'm doing a variety of things. It's photography's there. It's let's say photography, videography, and content creation. So we'll as the weeks go by, like I said, right now it's a weird mix. It's only 12 videos, but over time I'll start increasing more different things, etc. So there'll be a variety of stuff. What have I done so far? I've done some lighting gear. I've done some smoke machines, a couple of different small ones. My first my first smoke, my last smoke machine video got flagged because probably the algorithm goes, that looks too much like a vape. Unfortunately.
So just like fog machines for like stage lighting, is that what you're talking about?
Where is it?
For underneath, he has one for underneath your clothing, and he has also one for product showcasing or like that. It's pretty
What?
interesting. Yeah, he's showing it now.
Yeah, that is the one.
The world's biggest vape, right? You just turn it on, double click. Makes a lot of noise.
Legion, don't take a drag from that. Don't take a drag.
No.
Not again. Not again.
Do it.
I learned once is enough. Yeah, I mean that's for photography and videography. You can set things up. I use it all the time.
He also has like this interesting photography tutorial on how to make a floating spoon, floating objects, and eliminating that. Yeah, it's pretty cool how you do it and how you Photoshop everything, and it was really interesting.
Yeah.
So
Actually, Eric, you should have seen Legion's earlier videos where he does the 15-20 seconds a minute product representation video at the start. If you see those, you will understand what kind of things he loved doing with his camera and lenses. Yeah.
Blush again.
Okay. So we are almost towards the end of the show, but I have still a couple of questions. Now, here is one question I want to ask Legions. All right. Now, let's say if you had the attention of the whole world right now for 5 minutes, everyone is looking at you and listening to you, what would you say?
Well, I mean, the obvious things to go through are like talking about tolerance and world peace and, not being a dick to someone because you don't understand their pronouns or gender, all that sort of stuff. I mean, maybe stop bombing kids in Gaza. That would be pretty cool. All of those things I could get into. And if I've only got 5 minutes to talk to people and they'll take away whatever I say, I'm not eloquent enough to convince them. I'm not going to change their mind. So I'm going to be selfish about it, and I'm going to bring it back to, I would tell them that I smoked for 30 years. It was probably a stupid decision, but I started and then I was stuck on it. And I have a feeling that my mind, my neurochemistry, a little bit of ADHD, all that stuff, I have a feeling that nicotine is something that my body just craves because it helps keep me calm and focused. And so that may be why it was so hard for me to quit smoking. But I was dying. I would get up in the morning and breathing just made whistling sounds and gurgling sounds through my throat. I would go to the back because we couldn't smoke in the house. I'd light up my first cigarette and I would take a puff, and immediately, and I knew this was going to happen during the whole time, but I immediately start hacking. I start coughing. The first puff would just rip through my throat. I would hack until my lungs broke or my ribs broke. I'd be gripping onto a table to try not to piss myself and fall over while I'm doing it. But I had to have my first smoke because I'd been sleeping and I was nicotine deprived. So I would have to go through that to get my day started. And then, of course, pain throughout the day. That I didn't have the energy to walk to the end of the street. We're on a slight incline and that would just kill me. I was verging on needing to have an air tank with me. And I had given up. I had tried to quit numerous times. I had resigned myself to death because of tobacco combustion related illness. It was inevitable. It was going to happen. It was just what was there. My death. I love my wife, but within a certain period of time, boom, I will be dead. That's it. And it's coming soon. And then I found vaping and I did not have faith. I did not have belief. I did not think it was going to work. It was just a thing to try and play with. I like toys. Let's order this toy and try it and play with it. And then we'll probably never use it again. And I will continue on my trek towards death, probably in 3 years. We're getting close. And I was sitting here. It came in the mail. I had juice. I had nicotine. I had a battery, charged it up. Wife was out of town that day. And I was just, okay, I'll give this a try. Took a puff and it was cartoon style. Took another puff. This is going to work. And it tastes nice. Vanilla. I had vanilla, French vanilla. Fuck, it was good. Fuck, it was so good. And I was sneaky. Wife was out of town, not allowed to smoke in the house. Took my first vape in the house. And I ran to the back because I'm a well-trained boy. It's like, okay, I broke the rules enough. Let's go to the back. And I took another third puff, and I'm like, right, that's it. And I got a garbage bag, and I cleaned up every ashtray, every lighter, all the rolling papers. We had filters, bags of loose filters that you'd roll in, all of it into a garbage bag, tied it up, threw it in the laundry room, hosed down the back, wiped down the table so there's no ash smell, cleaned it up so I could be there without smelling it. That was it. Haven't smoked since.
Right.
Boom, I was done. And within a month, I could walk to the end of the street. Within 2 months, I could walk 3 blocks to the post office to get the mail, vape mail, yay, and walk back again. Not a problem. Harder to do now, arthritis, it's a bitch. But yeah, I would tell that story. I would tell that story in its entirety and just leave it with them so that their minds about what vaping is and what it does clarifies.
How, after all these years and everything, how do you wish to be remembered?
Ooh. A monumental fuck up who did good. That would be it.
Oh boy. Oh boy. And this man always comes up. I mean, see, everyone has got stock of words. We all speak English, small bits. Someone good, someone better. But this man can, I mean, I don't know. He structures a sentence or the answer and he puts it very good. So well structured. Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah, you're muted. He muted himself. He's talking to his wife.
No, she came here. She wanted to say hi, but she went off.
Oh, she could say hi. It's not. We love her.
All right. So, big dump. All right. So, yeah, I mean, I did. This is a lovely show. So, this is Vape Rendezvous. I mean, longest show, and it is longest because my camera gives up every 1 hour 11 minutes, but not anymore.
Yeah, we got himself a dummy battery to connect to it. So yes,
that's the way.
Bix engineer found me a solution because I have got M50 Mark II. So finding a dummy for EP12 batteries a bit tricky, but I found one. Yeah, so it's 2 hours.
I got a guy called Johan. He's like my advisory for sound and cameras and stuff.
Boy, that man can do everything. He sets up OBS, Streamlabs.
Yeah, it's like who Legion is for Birdie. It's like Johan is my Legion, but he works professional with them. So yeah, of course, with this stuff.
People in the chat. There are some new people, and most of the people are old who knows Legion. But if you still have got any question, go ahead and ask him.
Yeah, now is your time to shine.
Yeah.
You say you have the M50 Mark II. I looked at that. I was quite interested in it. The Mark II, not a huge difference from the Mark I. And I have 2 Mark Is. Yeah. The Mark I was the first camera I bought for the channel. I had a camera previously. I had a Canon 60D, and I upgraded to mirrorless and the M50, and I did a lot of my videos with that for the longest time, for years and years and years. I had 2 because my first one developed a problem, and so I had to send it off to get repaired. And so I went, okay, so I'll get another one. I will continue doing my videos so I don't have to wait. And then when it comes back, I'll have 2 cameras, table camera and stuff. Yeah. So that was good. And now my M50s. One of them is my wife has it full time. It's her webcam. So when
Okay.
she does streams and stuff, and the camera that you see on the table in the beginning of all my streams, the one that just 5 minutes of background cam,
Okay.
that's my other M50. It just sits there. I liked the M50 a lot.
Yes. Yes.
And at the point they came out, Canon were doing a range of mirrorless cameras, small mirrorless cameras. And then they
Yes.
released the large ones, the R series. And as
Yes.
soon as they did that, they gave up on these ones. So
EOS. Yeah.
that part, because they gave up on the small ones, that pissed me off because it became a dead end. And the other
Yeah.
part, the other thing that annoys me is that they made a fundamental flaw when they designed the camera. And this is technical stuff, but there's a thing called the flange distance, and it's the distance between the back of the lens to the
Yes.
sensor. And if your lens requires this, and you can put in an adapter, you can put any lens on any
Yeah.
camera that way, right? As long
Yeah.
as the flange distance is required is greater than what your camera can give, you can always add.
Add.
Basically, you're shimming it out, right? Easy to
Yeah.
do. So most old lenses fit on just about anything.
Yeah.
They made the flange distance for the M50 by
Yeah.
trying to make it small. They made it microscopically thin. It is the smallest flange distance in history, literally.
Yes, I think so.
Which means that these lenses cannot be adapted to anything else. So I have a small collection of lenses that I bought for the M50s that they're designed for it. And so
Yes.
they'll never work on any other camera because they
that's bad.
can't. Yeah.
But
But
I fell in love with this camera because I have done so much street photographs with this thing. I
it
cannot
is
let it go.
fantastic. It's a great size.
Yeah.
It's lightweight and comfortable. Its output is surprisingly good for a
Yeah, the
small.
raw image is very good. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a damn good camera. Damn good camera. And for what you're talking about, street photography, fuck, you can't do much better than that
Yes.
for something small, lightweight. And for content creation, which is where the M2 came in, that's what they were aiming it at. I mean, yeah, you do have that issue. You can't adapt these
Yeah,
lenses
that
to
is
it, but you can always adapt other lenses to this. And that works really, really well. And yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff with it. And
Yeah.
learn to deal with the crop factor, but you can film in 4K. No problem.
Yeah, like I'm not into completely full frame thing. Like I'm okay with crop thing. I'm not like having too much problem with it.
You know,
Like I
if
don't
you
think you also don't use a full frame. That is a yeah.
no, I don't.
Yeah.
It is something that I want for some
Yeah.
specific reasons. Look, the thing about full frame is that, okay, we're going to get a little bit complex here. The focal distance of your lens, whether it is a 50 or a 70 or a 28, the smaller the number, the wider it is. The bigger the number, the more focused in it is, right? That's a function of the lens, and that's static. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
So you have a circle. The lens has a circle, and you have your sensor in the middle. If your sensor is small, you only have that little tiny bit. All the information the lens sees around the edges thrown away. It's just that
Yeah.
little tiny bit. But it's still whatever number is written on it. It's still a 28 or a 7 or 70 or whatever. If your sensor is bigger, it takes in more of what the lens can see and throws
Yes.
away less. Okay. So people use a phrase equivalent. It's a focal equivalent. It's a 70, but it's a two times crop. So that's the equivalent of a 140. And that
Yeah.
means that little tiny bit that you see, that's the same little bit that you would see if it was a 140, except it's not. It is the same smallness, the same framing, or the same bigness, etc. But lenses have a thing called focal compression, which
Yes.
means that if you're focused on something here and what's in the background, if it's wide, the background looks wider. It's all spread out. But if it's a higher number, that background, no, it's the other way around. If it's wide, the background looks smaller. But if it's narrow, that background gets spread out a little bit. It's complex. But the point is that when you have crop, the background doesn't change from what the number is. You're seeing less, but the background doesn't compress the way full frame does. So there are some differences in the way that you frame, the way you deal with it. And when you get used to one and you move to the other, it can throw you off because the lens is behaving differently in your framing. The other thing that I really like about full frame, like I said, don't use it at the moment, is that when you start getting into photography and using like aberrant lenses, you're purposely using lenses that have flaws, but you're using them for creative purposes, vintage lenses specifically. If you have a full frame, you have the entire image to the edge or as close to the edge as possible. And if you have a crop, you're only cutting out the middle, right? Well, all the interesting stuff of those weird lenses, it happens at the edges. That sharp in the middle and moving to a blur, well, you've cut that blur off. Weird.
You were
bokeh
talking about
light.
that vintage feel towards the end of it on
Exactly.
your video. One of
Yeah. And like I said, you can fake it a little bit in post, but it's just generally it's not as
natural and good.
So there is that. But I mean, in terms of what you were saying though, using something like an M50 with the crop, because when you go into, it's already a small sensor, and then when you go to use 4K, it crops in even further. You lose a little bit to film in 4K, which just means that you have to back up a little bit more to get more in the frame. It's not a big deal, really, if you're not looking for, if you're not using vintage lenses, you're not looking for that. You're just looking to capture something, especially for content creation, like tabletop stuff or face cam sections. You need more room, more distance between your camera and your face to fit in
get
there.
the things blurred in the back and all.
But that 4K is perfectly usable. Like I said, I used an M50 for years and dealt with the 4K crop. Didn't bother me at all in doing that work.
I love this. I love this chat with you.
Teach us more, Sensei.
All right. So
I didn't see any questions popping in for Legion or any of us.
Doesn't matter because we are talking so much. We probably have given all the answers of everything, whatever they have asked. Okay. So, Eric, anything you have to ask Legion? I think I forgot to ask him. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sure as soon as we get done here, I'll think of 3 or 4 different things. But right
That's
now,
always the way.
we've gone over a lot. Just glad to have you here, man.
I'm glad to be here anytime.
I forgot to ask you this question. How, I mean, if there is a failure in your life, how that failure has set you up for later success in your life, if you have one?
If I have one, did I not tell you about my youth? There are so many failures. Look, I mean, life is a journey. We start and eventually we die, and we try to do the best that we can. And then part of that, you look at things that you do with a somewhat introspective nature. Don't wait 10 years. Don't wait 20 years. You do it as soon as you can. It's hard when you're in the midst of it. But once you got a little bit of perspective, step away, look at it. Yeah, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fuck up. That's just life. But you try and learn from each and every one and do a little bit better. And it's the same, as I said, about videos. If I do 1% better this time than last time, I'm winning. I'm already better. So, I fuck up all the time. I've messed up so many things in my life, and relationships and work jobs and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, you just gotta walk away from it with some sort of lesson and a determination to try a little harder, try to do better. You should be good.
All right.
Does
There's a
Oz have a
question for you.
specific food that I like?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
boy.
mean,
Kangaroo steak. Kangaroo steak.
I'm a rare North American that loves Vegemite. I love it in the traditional Australian fashion: toast, butter, and Vegemite. However, I eat Vegemite the way a North American does, which is plenty of it spread thickly, which is abhorrent to Australians. But I like it. It's bitter. It's strong. It's bitey. Yeah, I like Vegemite quite a bit, especially good melted butter in there. Other than that, nothing huge comes to mind. Australians are really big on their meat pies. Like that's just a thing here. Like meat pie for dinner, meat pie for lunch. If you're drunk and you're walking around the streets in the States, you'll stop off at a hot dog stand. We'll go get a meat pie.
So,
and the cheaper the meat pie, the better.
Is it like a pot pie or what is it?
See, that's what I said. It's just like not a thing. Like in America and in Canada, pie is like dessert.
Right.
Yeah, dessert. You have a sweet pie, but this is
it's
not
supposed to be sweet.
Yeah, this is a slightly different pastry. It's more of a savory pastry with a top on it, and I mean they have all varieties, but basic chunks of beef and gravy, filling in there, and
I've
people
heard
here
of the
eat
thing
things
called
different.
shepherd's pie. Is it like that?
Shepherd's pie. I have also heard about it.
Shepherd's pie is not a pie, which was the weird thing.
Oh.
Shepherd's pie is served in a pie-shaped dish, which traditionally it's lamb, but more modernly it's gravy. No, not gravy, beef. It's a minced meat, carrots and peas sometimes, with a layer of mashed potato on top, and you bake it, and the top of the potato becomes crunchy, and it's quite nice. But no, a meat pie is actually like a proper pie. It's like pastry on the bottom and the top. You can pick the whole thing up with your hand.
Sounds
it's
good.
like I mean, they are good. You can get chicken ones and all sorts here. Every country seems I don't know what the American version is. I guess burritos and things like that. Every country seems to have a portable meat meal.
Oh man, we love our
absolutely.
burritos here. If you want to eat cheap, you can get any type of burrito for like $1 about anywhere.
You know what I miss here more than anything? It's twofold. There's a distinct lack of cinnamon in this country. Like,
oh boy,
and Eric,
tell me how
you're
much you need.
Cinnamon gum. You have cinnamon candies. You have like so many things with cinnamon. You could probably get cinnamon jello there. I mean, you get cinnamon and all sorts of things. Cinnamon is not a popular or common flavoring. It's a spice that's put into the occasional thing, but it's not. There's no cinnamon thing, so I miss that. And the cheapest, nastiest, most North American Mexican, like 99 cents microwave burritos from 7-Eleven.
You miss
none
those?
of that here. I miss those so much. They're awful. But at 3 a.m,
they're terrible.
Fucking beautiful.
Or like those little ones that they put on the rollers.
Oh yes.
You ever see those? Yeah. I feel ashamed anytime I eat one of those, but I've definitely eaten a few of them in my time.
But it's an enjoyable shame. As the grease drips down your chin.
It's a necessary evil of 3 a.m. Yeah.
Guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure. All right. So with that, we have come to the end of this beautiful show. We
it was wonderful.
Keep going for another couple of hours, but it's already late.
I think if we did, someone would come and yell at me because there are two people sleeping, and it's 12:30 in the morning.
I was about to say that. My wife just barged in and like, huh, You guys still busy?
Well, I know my battery time limit now because I'm down to about 8%. So I got
All
about
right.
3
So,
hours.
yeah, everyone has their alarm went off, so it's fine now.
Mhm. So then we wrap it up. We thank Legion for joining us.
Yes, thank
Be
you so
not
much.
threatening big that go off finish it.
Yeah, and of course, all the people in chat. Thank you for wasting your time with us.
Now hold
It
on,
was fun.
Legions. I mean, sir, it's a pleasure that you came to our show. I mean, we would like to thank you so much. It's kind of a fanboy moment for all three of us. All right. I mean, you
I
can
just
laugh
love
at it.
I just love how you say that every time, and the other two just roll their eyes and go, "No, it's just you, man. It's just you."
No.
Oh, I'm a fan.
Come on. I mean, if someone is better doing at something than me, I'm a fan of that person. So yeah.
It's like when you grow up, you want to be Legion.
I mean, it's not like growing up in YouTube channel. It's like the way he's creative thought process. You cannot teach that to someone. You cannot teach someone common sense or presence of mind or creativity.
Yeah, the problem with having common sense is you have to deal with all the people that don't have it.
But with YouTube, you're completely left to your own devices. Like there's no boss harking on you on YouTube telling you have to get a new video out or you should be doing this way. Basically, we have each other to learn from. So it's great. I've learned
Yeah.
so much from all of you guys.
I don't even give a shit about if I lose whatever happens with my. I mean, it's not about getting more. See, I did not have any subscribers or things like that. You saw it. I put up some shit ass short. Just woke up in the morning and took a couple of puffs and I uploaded it. And after 4 months, I have 8 million views on that. So I don't know what I did. And I'm not proud of it. So it's
wild,
weird.
man.
That's wild. Yeah, so
It is
that's
crazy how
nonsense.
some of them are hits and some of them like I'll do one that I think's the best one I've ever done, and it doesn't get any views.
But
I'll do something I think's
yeah,
horrible
but
that blows
I
up.
am not in a position. None of us are in a position to like lecture legions. But what I have seen from shorts, what I've understood from shorts, I have been pushing big for 6 months, and he has started doing it finally, and he is doing it great. Eric has not fully doing it, but
You sound
legions,
disappointed.
you should, since you the channel, it's almost like starting from the scratch, though I don't feel like that. You have a set fan base, but you should start like fiddle around with shorts and make some fun shorts. I'm sure it'll do great if you
They're
do
in
it.
the works. They are in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah, the algorithm really
The
picks
way-
up on the shorts because it wants to compete with TikTok and stuff like that.
What I have found out is if you post 3 shorts a day, every day without fail, for 4 or 5 months or less, the algorithm will catch you, and after that, you don't have to do anything.
I'll take that on board. I'll take that on board.
All right. So thank you so much for coming in and teaching us over the years and in the show as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you next week on your show regularly. And we are also like waiting for your new uploads, new videos. And thanks all I mean, again from me and Big and everyone.
And we give you all one
Absolutely.
final
Thank you so
cloud.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Oh, I have put it all. All right, here you go.